Oh, wow. He's doing something all right.
Turn yours down. It won't be so loud.
Can you hear us in there?
Yeah, I got y'all. Yeah.
We
So if you can hear us, I mean, we're live. Good morning, everybody that's tuning in. Saturday morning sports talk by Mitchum's Kitchen here on KDC Broadcasting. Terry Reinhardt, Hunter Yancey, Tom Sinafani, Kevin Hastings, bringing you. Well, I don't know what kind of sports we're going to talk about today because for at least 30 days, everything's going to be at least on hiatus.
we got all kind of things to talk about.
Wow.
North Carolina State, the ACC basketball champions.
Okay.
Yeah,
And women's.
that happened,
Yeah.
people. Hey,
Oh,
I got
that
it.
did?
I got all the stats right here in front of me, and I can prove to why this happened.
Okay.
For all state fans, listen to me, and for all other fans of other ACC tournaments, you lost. It's
Okay.
that simple. It's this way.
Well, it's-
FSU, Duke, Virginia, and Louisville never played, so they was 0-0. Virginia Tech 0-1, Wake Forest 0-1, Georgia Tech was completely out. So Boston College 0-1, Miami 0-1. But then you come into Carolina and Pittsburgh, who finished 1-1. But that was not how it works. So your undefeated teams in your ACC tournaments were North Carolina State, Clemson, the Fighting Irish, and Syracuse. And why does the State win this? Because last time State played Clemson, Notre Dame, and Syracuse, they beat them. And State ends up winning the ACC tournament. There you go.
I hate to
Simple.
tell you, Terry, the trophy's already been awarded to Florida State.
No, the regular season trophy got awarded to Florida State.
They gave him the
They
trophy.
gave the ACC tournament trophy.
They gave him the trophy.
No, they gave them the regular season tournament. About like them other conferences. They gave up
Actually,
that
that's
regular
not what
season.
happened.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Actually, well, you know, I listened to the end of the Virginia Tech Carolina game, and Carolina was just really playing well in that game. I mean, they won that one by 20, and then I expected them to play well against Syracuse, and then they just laid an
That's-
egg.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
really thought Carolina, and I even told another Tar Heel fan, I figured they'd beat Syracuse. I really did.
I thought they would.
And
But
then
they
lose
came out
to Louisville.
flat.
You know.
They
Yeah.
came out as flat as they could be. It was like the game against Virginia Tech was the best game they'd played all year, probably, to them. And then whatever they thought, whatever, moral victory they got out of that, it petered out within the first 2 to 3 minutes of Syracuse because that zone had them in every which way. They had a problem with it.
They were hitting a lot of threes against Virginia Tech. Shot the ball well.
And North Carolina is
yeah.
not a three-point shooting team, so if that happens, then great, because you know you're going to get 25 out of Garrison Brooks in the center. If you can hit threes around him, that's fantastic. But if you can't, and he's the only guy that's trying to will you away, and the other team can start hitting threes, that has always been, under Roy Williams, North Carolina's Achilles tendon. A team that can shoot threes, because they can't guard it. They can't guard it. And Syracuse has got shooters. And for God's sakes, North Carolina fouled 2 3-point shots within the first 3 minutes and sent them to the line both times. Now, the first time, boy missed all 3 free throws. I said, how you going to do that and be a 3-point shooter? But then they fouled another guy, and he went to the line and got 3. And overall, North Carolina looked like they just didn't want to play. They didn't really want to move on. I think half of them listen to what Cole Anthony said and say, yeah, we could probably win this. We feel like we're a top 10 team in the country. The other half were like, let's just call the season at this point. Well, we're done.
So for Hunter, as far as me asking y'all, so if Roy comes back next year and just barely finishes over 500, will he be done at Carolina? Matt Doherty was.
Well, he's supposed to have a really good recruiting class coming in.
Yeah.
Right
See, that's
So if
This
you
was
just barely
supposed to
get over
be-
500 next year,
this was
he's
supposed to
done.
be a really good recruiting class.
but they got hurt.
He's got
I mean, you know, they had a lot.
He's got 7 McDonald's All-Americans on that team.
They had a lot of injuries, and it's hard to gel. You know what I mean? It's just hard to gel. It's hard to get chemistry. It just didn't work out for him this year. But he'll have, a good recruiting class coming in next year. I think he could still coach. A lot of people have lost confidence in him. I mean, I read some of the comments on online, and I think there was
One
a couple
bad
on your
year.
podcast about how it was time to fire
Yeah.
Roy Williams.
Well,
And
Well,
it's
that's-
like,
one bad year.
I just think people.
come on.
I think just people are just.
I don't think
stupid.
it's time to fire him. But if he becomes consistent, then I think the university itself will just not fire him, but say, I think it's time to step down. Because
As a Carolina fan, you would sit here and tell me that if this becomes like next year and the next year, then we need to get a guy who has won 19 games every year he's ever coached.
yeah,
Every year
Except
that
Bryant.
he has ever coached
Yeah.
yeah,
until this year.
yes. If it becomes consistent, I'm talking we do this next year where we finish below 19 wins. If he can get back to his 19 win status, that's fine. Because North Carolina, we don't necessarily just play. You know that. They don't call UNC, a lot of people call it the University of National Champions for a reason. We play for national championships in basketball. I think everybody's goal was to get there, and we've been able to do it actually 2 times since 2015. What was it? We won it in 2017, and then we won it in 2014.
2009.
It was 2009.
And
and
another
then-
12 or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was in between 9 and 12. So, great. They made a good point on one of our podcasts. He was like, look, he's won 3 championships for the NCAA. He gets 3 passes. He gets 3 passes. This will be his
top
first pass.
10 coach of all time.
Yeah, I know, but eventually, when does what he wants to do stop working and it's time for him to step away? Because he's almost in his, he's in his 70s. Eventually, it's just going to get to the point where you got to look at maybe one of the younger guys that's up and coming. I mean, did Boston really have to make the move to go and get the young coach and Brad Stevens? No, they didn't have to. They could have went like most other NBA teams do and just get somebody from the NBA head coaching fraternity. He has coached in the NBA before.
Hold on a second. Did you say Roy Williams was in his 70s? 67. isn't he?
He's like late
He's
60s.
67.
I said he's 70s. Then he's almost 70.
Don't
What's
add,
the point?
Don't add.
At what point is it time to step down?
Don't add 4 years to him. Don't add 4 years.
What time
to
is
him.
it to step down then, though? Eventually,
I
when does
think-
recruiting get to
think
be too much for him?
he-
There's two signing days now.
He's
That's
earned the
why
right.
head coach at Washington stepped down from football. I mean, he just said he wanted to spend time with his family. If you're not winning and you're starting to feel the outside pressure, then it's just like, I think it's time for me to step down, like they
He's-
did Mac Brown at Texas.
he's
You won us a
earned the right.
national championship, but you stopped being consistently good at a school that's known for what? Football. So they said it's time for us to move in a new direction.
But he's
When-
earned the right, Hunter. I think he's earned the right. I think.
Yeah, he's earned the right to be
Earned the
there
right
as
to
long
what?
as he wants.
to be there as long as he
What
wanted.
okay, so they gave him what, a five-year contract extension last year or the year before. Say he loses this year, next year, and the year after. If it was last year, so he's what, 4 years into that deal?
Well, I mean, if
Go
you're going to
5
be
years
like
and then
what
move
y'all
off of
did
him?
to, and I put that,
Fire
what
'em all.
y'all did to Matt Doherty, then that's what you're after. I mean, Matt Doherty had an 8-20 year, the worst ever in Carolina history. This is the second worst. And
Yeah.
just on account of they have a bad year, and all of a sudden, because Matt Doherty turned it around the very next year, he went like, I don't know, 20-17 maybe, I think's what it was. I can't remember total. But he is a little bit over, but it's like, that's not good enough. We're getting rid of you. So you're telling me a guy who wins 19 games a year and has one bad year, if he goes 20-17 next year, you were getting ready to be done.
No,
Terry,
what
now,
did I
real
say?
quick,
I
how
said
about
it had to
Terry-
be consistent losing.
Real
Next
quick,
year has to
Terry.
be a losing season.
How-
the year after.
I'm leaning with you is, Doherty got a raw deal in the fact his bad year was those his players or were those Bill Guthridge's players?
There you go.
The national championship that Roy first won were those Roy's players or were
were
those Matt Doherty's players?
players.
So Roy, you don't take one away, keep one. But I mean, Terry, I've called as many timeouts as Roy has in this past year. About
There's a
at
lot of
what
coaches
point-
like that.
at what point is it when you lose? Yeah, but how many games did you say they lost by like less than 3?
Less than 3, 6.
Phil Jackson was one of the world's worst. You worked through it.
Well, Michael Jordan and Shaq were out there, but other than that, though, what he's saying is they've lost all those games by less than 3 points. Timeouts, coaching, recruit. The coach says I don't have a good enough players. Then the coach don't call timeouts. They got a bad record, like you said, Terry. Those are his players. Those aren't Bill
Yeah,
Guthridge's
that's true.
players or Matt
Those are
Doherty's. Those
his.
are his. Those
Yeah.
aren't someone else's players. That's the program's players. We should be far enough outside of the academic scandal that's not really mattering anymore. So what is mattering to the kids? And according to Gilbert Arenas, Hunter, it's because Duke's paying them $200,000 each to come to Duke.
Yeah.
Well, question
Did y'all
this,
see that
then.
report from Gilbert or his on Twitter?
I did not.
I did not either.
Gilbert Arenas said that he knows of some Duke players the past few years that's what they're getting to come to Duke instead of like I think it was one guy instead of going to Kentucky it was 200K.
You talking cash payments, $200,000.
Yes.
I mean,
that's Gilbert Arenas. So,
you better have some evidence to make that
Yes,
kind of
you
claim.
better.
I mean, because it's kind of hard to wash out $200,000 if you're just going to give somebody $200,000. That's going to surface.
well, they
itself
do it through the
somewhere.
youth. They do it through the AAU programs and parents getting jobs and assistant coaches and there's different ways that is.
There's
that
a certain
is
ways to
done.
launder it, but 200,000 is a good bit every year or just once. Did he say?
I can pull it up exactly. I don't think he went that in depth with it on his tweet, Tom. To be exact, you know what I mean?
Because
I guess you got 240 characters.
Because he's just throwing a number out there. I mean, I really think that there's a lot of speculation of what these guys are getting at this place or that place, but that's a pretty audacious claim just to put it on Twitter. Oh, it's $200,000 to get going to Duke.
Well, that's pretty much close to what the Clemson guy that was caught in Vegas and wiretapped in the FBI investigation was. He was around that number, sort of, when he was talking about how Clemson basketball can't afford what Duke and North Carolina basketball can. They said, but we got different ways. We take care of the football team a different way than we do. So that's all on the FBI tapes. That's a Clemson basketball.
What do you think the
recruiting.
coaches have come out if it was true? They'd say, "Oh, I had nothing to do with this. This is behind my back."
right.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the Gilbert Arenas statement, a lot of it was because it was coming through shoe company. Shoe companies put the money. That's why Adidas was under so much scrutiny with NC
North Carolina
State.
State, yeah.
And I remember that one of the comments from Gilbert Arenas was, it was one of the highest profile players Duke has ever had, $200,000, and you can only imagine who that was. I mean, that's easy to tell you. There was a story out too as well, and there's people rubbed it, swept it under the mat so fast, but it was, Kansas was recruiting Zion Williamson hard, but the report was he wanted $100,000 in housing for his family, and they wouldn't give it to him.
But I'm almost like Tom, and that's what it says on here. He knows two players who got paid that. My God, if you're going to come out and say that, buddy, you better have something.
You better have something to back it up.
Yeah,
And
and
see-
behind you to say it.
Sure, Gilbert Arenas isn't in the league right now, but this wouldn't necessarily help him get back in the league.
No.
So if
He's retired.
he's done.
past that.
He's past that. So it says right there, allegations that the highest profile Duke player of all was paid by Nike to attend the school. So if that's how they're getting talent, then everybody should be able to do it.
I will say one good thing. I know it's a little bit different topic, but Williamson donated his salary to pay all the employees.
Right. We're gonna
Yeah.
get to all that, and
Yeah.
we're gonna go by sport in just a minute, Tom. I wanted to get in high school in our first segment. We're gonna take a break in just a second, but here, I know I just got into what you guys were discussing, trying to get some of the audio set up, but Stephen A. Smith was just making a comment about his reaction to the bill in California about the name likeness and endorsements and everything. Gilbert responded, "This is America, and every school you name, those players get paid way more anyway." Smiley face. However, that you want to read the emojis. You really think players are going to Duke without being paid over Kentucky? I know 2 players in the last 5 years that's gotten $200,000 to attend Duke. So that's Gilbert's comments on that. So I'm just wondering.
Those big basketball players are tied in with AAU teams too, because most of the time they coach them or they've got teams.
Right.
So yeah, like you could say these might just be allegations, but most of the time NBA players, they know something.
Right.
So I'm not going to say he's just out here throwing slander out there, because he's probably not a North Carolina fan. He ain't an NC State fan. That ain't gonna really
He's
help
from
him.
Arizona. He's
He played
Arizona.
at Arizona, and what does that help him? They got hit with a huge fine because what they paid DeAndre Ayton. That was $100,000.
Yeah, Arizona's involved in the FBI scandal as well. I'm sure they all are with some way, form, or another. I mean, Tom, you talking about and how long does Coach K and Roy have? How long do they relate to the 19-year-old basketball players coming out more than someone else? Will Carolina be better off? I think their replacement, Hunter, I've been saying it for a while, should be Kenny Smith. If anyone's going to relate to the younger generation, he's in tap with them every Thursday, Friday night, whatever, on TNT.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Carolina guy. He's won a NBA championships. He didn't get it done at Carolina per se. He knows the system, knows the offense, knows everybody at Carolina. Everybody knows Kenny Smith. I think they should, look towards him. He's thought about getting involved in the past. Hubert Davis been over sitting on the bench. I'm sure he would be better, but I don't know as far as Duke goes. But at what point, say Terry, he's or Tommy's earning the right, and he's got, like Andy said the other day, so many years or so many bad years, but how many of those in a row? Or Matt Doherty didn't get it, but I guess you won a national championship. But you get that many years, Terry? Or
I think if you've won 3 national titles, 2 of them that are his and one that was somebody else's, but he's got 3.
Hey, Bobby Knight
You know.
didn't get to stay where in Indiana.
Well, I mean, Bobby Knight was a whole different ball player
Well,
and person than Roy Williams.
Really?
Really?
Are you saying that?
I was
too?
glad to see he went back to Indiana this year, though. It's the first
Yes, I
time he'd
was.
been back. I mean,
Yeah.
he needs to let it go. I mean, he's pushing 80. He doesn't need to. It's time to let go of that hate. And I understand because they did throw him under the bus. At the same time, really got mixed. I have mixed emotions about somebody like Bobby Knight because you want a guy to be tough, but then you can take it to extremes. And then for a guy to win a national championship, have a perfect season at a school, and then never want to go back ever again, that was just a shame. But I was glad to see that he did go back with the anniversary. One of the national. I don't know if that was the undefeated team, but it was one of his national championship teams. He did finally go back to Indiana.
Yeah, he
so
did.
that was good to see.
All right, JP, you ready? All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to go over some high school stuff that we need to get into and go over some local sports and how the rest of the sports world has been affected by this, what's going on here. All right, JP, we come back. We're going to talk some high school basketball. You ready? You excited? Jump up and down? No? All right. What's good about at least JP? I've took his headphones away. We're listening to his headphone jack in there, so he's got to listen to us over the speaker. So if he hits the button, then he can't hear us, and that's a good thing, right, JP? All right. Good morning. We'll be back in a minute. KTCBroadcasting.com. JP, I don't think I can hear you, but good morning.
Yeah, we can hear you, JP.
I can't hear him at all.
Well,
Y'all
was,
can.
He
I'm
was
plugged into a
telling the
different.
world
I'm plugged
that we
into a
could
different
not hear
hole.
you.
That
We
y'all
was
have.
listening to him.
All right, good deal. All right, JP, be quiet. We got other stuff to talk about. Good morning, everybody. Saturday morning sports talk. Wanted to talk a little bit about some high school sports and things going on in the area. Let's start there with how everything has affected us. Hunter and I were talking. What started the tidal wave of cancellations was Gobert and what happened at their games, fan throwing up, and that started it. Then Coach K and them pulling out, and then after that it was everyone else. Once the pro team said they were out, amateur sports aren't going to say, well, we can't keep our guys out there playing. Lawyers get involved. I'm sure it was heavily in most of these decisions. NCAA was going to do without fans, and a lot of other sports were too. PGA,
NASCAR.
we thought NASCAR was going to get it done without. I think both those sports could do it if they wanted to. I think what they need to do is check. I guess they didn't check all their drivers and all the competitors. I think that's the biggest concern. PGA, they're international players, so that may be a bigger concern with where they've been the last month or so. But I think NASCAR may be able to be the quickest to get back going in a couple of weeks. Quarantine everybody for 2 weeks, and then everybody maybe if everything's okay, get back to racing. And then it just tidal wave down into the NCAA, ACC, everybody else, and then finally the Athletic Association in North Carolina was kind of one of the last ones to make the decisions on what they were going to do. They were originally going to do no fans and no media other than the TV, and they even had quoted that we were going to have to cover the games basically through the TV or online somehow. I don't know how that we never got a final answer on the radio end of it, but other media like internet and press and everybody and print and everyone else was. So I want to go over some of the brackets and everything from the playoffs. Up at Hickory the other night, Shelby wins and Huss fell by 2 to Freedom. The Freedom boys win 58-56. That was a big shocker. Of what I've talked to a lot of people around here, thought Huss may have had the best team in the state. I was told by one fan in particular, and not necessarily a fan, used to be a high school basketball coach, said that Huss's second unit, Terry, was better than most starting units around. So he thought they
maybe deep.
were going to be pretty good.
But they are still under Freedom. Freedom was a 3 seed.
Well, that's true. However, those seeds are pulled. Shelby was under West Stokes and didn't have a problem with them, and kind of did okay the other night. Want to talk about them for a minute. I do have a list, Tom, of some of the area players, District 10 players. That's where we're at. If anybody didn't know, I didn't know if I'm not that familiar with how those are. Terry, do you know those? How those are divvied up?
No, I
or
do
District
not.
10s. Okay. Shelby beat Forest Hills 68-63. Here's something interesting to note between Shelby, Forest Hills, and Farmville Central. So last year, Forest Hills beat Shelby. Farmville Central won the state. None of those three teams, Terry, have lost to a 2A team this year. So all their losses, when you look at their records, are actually 3A, 4A, and private schools. So all three of those teams, Shelby and Farmville in the championship game, a 3 seed versus a 3 seed, and neither one have actually lost to a 2A school this year. Farmville Central beat South Granville 66-63, another 3 beating a 1. Shelby a 3 beating a 1 there. That game against Forest Hills was much bigger than a 5-point game. It's more like a 10-point game, and Shelby they were just letting them score there at the end and come back. Try not to foul out, move the clock, let it get going. What happened was Forest Hills started hitting their free throws finally, and they hit about 5 in a row there in the fourth quarter, and that's what cut it to cut the lead. And Shelby wasn't hitting their shots and scoring, but they ended up winning, pulling out 68-63. I think their average is 74 points a game, so just slightly under it. in that game, Tyler Arrington, I think we had him at 21 and Christopher 22, 20, something like that. Christopher was the hero of that game. And not to pat myself on the back, Terry, but he was my player to watch in that game. Somebody else had to step up besides Tyler. Tyler has been on fire in the last 3 games. Tyler Arrington scored, let's go, 40, 29, and 21. So 90 points in the last 3 games for Tyler Arrington. The first one, Terry, the 40-point game was off the bench there for the Shelby Golden Lions. Then he got in the starting lineup when Borders got hurt. Elijah Borders moved up. He did come back for the last game for us. He came off the bench for 20 seconds in the first half. Shelby got in foul trouble. So Borders was hurt. Then 2 guys got in foul trouble. Of course, Tom, no surprise, Jack was involved in the foul trouble. Now, I'll defend him on the last one. The ref that caught it was at half court, and they were down in the corner, and the kid lost the ball, so they were just all – there was 3 people just slapping at the ball, and Jack got called for a reach on that. And then another one, he got called for a guy cutting across the lane. They kind of just ran into each other, and they called Jack on the hit or whatever in the lane. So he did kind of get 2 cheap ones there early in his defense, but you know he's going to get his fouls in. Let's see. Isaiah Best, outstanding. He was defensive player of the game. Tom, just blocks. And he's not a tall, lanky shot blocker. It's out of nowhere kind of his blocks come from. Like teams contest Shelby, and then if Isaiah's around, he blocks the shot. One kid tried to dunk. He blocked him from behind on the dunk attempt, and then another one had a layup, and he pinned up against the backboard. So great defense from Isaiah. And then Deshaun Christopher, he looked the shot at halftime. I guess I need to pull up our show there, Hunter. You got to remind me so people can watch our pretty faces. So anyway, the shot at halftime, Deshaun was close to NBA range on the left wing. He's left-handed. He gets it. He looks at the clock, and I swear there might have been, when I looked at it, 1.5, 2 seconds. He didn't jump. It was more of a Steph Curry, just I got to get it out of my hand. And then the kid for the other team hits him on the shot. He nails it, nothing but net. 4-point play into the half for the lead. I think is what it was. And then he came out of the half. They checked it in. They stepped back, and he had just hit that 3. He's like, I'm taking it again. Boom. So 7 points straight for Sean Christopher, and that turned the tide right there, going into and out of the half for Shelby is what we thought. Of course, they played great defense as well. I'm trying to remember who. Go over if anybody else I forgot. Jahari Mitchell played good defense as well. He hit the first 3 early. Might have hit 2. He hit the first 2 threes early, and then nothing for Shelby like in the first half. No threes. So just nothing was going on. Bad quarters. Had a 9-point quarter that game. The game before they had a 7-point quarter, and still come out and pulled out victory in those games. So going to the championship game, Farmville Central, they did beat East Lincoln a few years ago in Sage and Chaz's second attempt at a championship after they lost to Brandon Ingram, who's a pretty good basketball player, and his team from Kinston the year before. So that's the 2 and 3A wrap up. Tom, Terry, you guys work in the schools, want to go how any information has gone through you guys' schools or what's going on? You guys got news anyway with Cogdell leaving, going to Chase. Right. So anything you guys want to touch on that's been going on at school and maybe looking forward to, or either one of the y'all schools or talking about any distance learning like online or anything like that yet. So there's a lot of different talk and options. A couple of states have already are taking a 2-week break, taking early spring breaks and extended spring breaks. So I think Florida and Virginia might be doing that. So on your guys' end, going forward and what's going on, I'm gonna let you guys get into that, I guess, a little bit.
Well, I guess the unknowns are the biggest thing. Like Hunter and I were just talking a little while ago. Will the warm weather kill this thing? And some sources say yes, some sources say no. And then I was doing a little reading. Some sources say we don't know. So that's what the thing is. There are so many unknowns about this. You don't know what policy they're going to take. I do think they're going to take early spring break. They're going to do some things through distance learning. Haven't heard anything yet. But it seems that the countries that have done the quarantines, China, Korea, that it has had an effect in helping stop spread it. Now, what happens when you lift it? Is it going to come back? So once we go to distance learning, is that going to last the rest of the year? You know, is it going to last into next year? I mean, it's really the fact that so much is unknown right now. It's really scary. I do know that NC, you know, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association has suspended all games for 3 weeks.
April 6th,
Yeah.
right?
But when I was at Chase last night, Terry, I heard like soccer, the girls were doing their senior night. I heard the PA announcer. They actually did their senior night last night. That's not a good sign, you know, as far as what people have heard, is that might be the last. Those might be the last contests of the season that you saw last night. So I just hate it for the kids. I hate it for the seniors. I mean, but you can't, you know, you can't take a chance on something with so many known unknowns. And there's a lot of people, like I've been reading, there's a lot of people upset about the sports being canceled, and me too, you know, because I work a lot of ball games in the springtime, but you can't work ball games if you're dead or if you're sick. So I guess I just have to trust the judgment, and whatever happens, happens. I do agree with what Kevin said. It's probably going to be not a matter of if, but when, because like Ohio, all the schools are shut down. Michigan, all the schools are shut down. I think it's coming.
Well,
to North
once the
Carolina.
lawyers start talking
Yeah.
and get involved, they don't want to be the first. No business, none of the teams, none of the leagues, none of the schools, none of them want to be an epicenter or and end up having to go through that. I think that is, and people don't talk about that, but a lot of decisions in this world are decided by the lawyers in a lot of these situations. So I think at some point safety is. In the most important thing is just how what do we do with it and how we go about it. You know, with the sports, one of the things originally was that they weren't going to shake hands, but they were going to play. So what was that?
It's so you know what, and it's so hard not to shake hands.
Well, that too.
It was funny because there was a couple of leaders. I can't remember which country they're from, but they're doing this elbow thing
Yeah.
now. Have y'all seen that?
Or
This
they praying.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
elbow thing. And then as soon as the thing was on, after they demonstrated, they actually shook hands, and both of them after they shook hands, like, oh gosh, what did we just do? It's just so normal for you to, when you see somebody, you shake hands. You know, I took a bottle of hand sanitizer out with me at the game last night between every innings. I know I was touching the ball and all that. Just clean up your hands and do the best you can. But it's just, I hate it for the kids, the coaches, all the work that the coaches have put in, the baseball coaches, the soccer coaches, the softball coaches. Before the season, the track coaches, and now it's all for naught. So I mean, I just feel bad for them.
Well, I know as of 11:59 last night, and we all know that, it all stopped. Everything in high school, as far as any kind of athletics, all finished. And just talking about schools that are closing, you mentioned Ohio, Michigan, Oregon's in on that, District of Columbia's in on that, New Mexico's in on that have shut down their schools, you know, and they're probably going to be more. Where do you go from here? I mean, you start talking about, okay, we'll have online classes. Everybody don't have internet. Everybody don't have laptops. Everybody don't have that stuff at their house.
And kids
You know,
don't. That's not the best way for kids.
No, it's not. And I don't see how you're going to really, I mean, some people are going to do it. Some people are going to be able to stay up with their classes and everything. But a lot of kids are going to fall behind when this happens.
Well, I did see it was shared on a Facebook page last night. Well, somebody that I am obviously friends with shared it. It was from Spectrum, and Spectrum said that if you have a child that is K through 12, or if you are a college student, they will provide internet access for you for the classes, which I think is very smart.
But everybody does not have that.
I know that, and which I'll tell you how my school's going about it. So as of right now, there's been nothing decided. Obviously, and I know because we're not affiliated with the UNC schools. So what they've decided, that's on them. We don't follow what they decide, but they have surveyed the students. They have sent us surveys to answer to find out if you have technology at home, if you have internet at home, if you have a webcam at home, you know, just to try and figure out, okay, this is the best way that we're going to go about this if we do have to do social distancing.
Yeah, and when you speak of that, I'm with you, but I also look at, and Tom can verify all this with me, different segments, different stuff. I mean, you know, if you go to West Lincoln, and maybe more of us do not have stuff, where if you go down to the East Lincoln side, maybe they do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it all changes from every school in North Carolina and where you're located and what your students do in the evenings.
Yeah.
When they leave school. I mean, do they go work on a farm? Do they not go work on a farm? Do they go work at a regular job? And they have the stuff. But, everything is different. I mean, we're in a new environment of where we've never been before. I mean, how funny is it for us to walk into our house and the other night I flip it on and there's no ball games on. And what am I watching? A replay of State and Pittsburgh play on ACC network. I mean, that's what's showing now. And then when you get up on ESPN, there's this coronavirus all day long. And what else has stopped? I mean, how many people would have thought the Masters would have stopped? I mean, we kind of sat there and said, hey, with no people there, it's fine. I bet, and even Jack Nicklaus come out and said, look, the Masters is with people. They don't want to do it unless there's people there. But and I know some players, the environment over that stuff. People make them play better or make them play worse. So I mean, I don't know. We've never been through this. I remember when 9/11 was and they shut down all the planes, and no planes flying over. I mean, it's the first time I've ever been through something like that. And this is the first time we've ever touched something like this. I mean, what do you do? I mean, I've never known where I'm going to go to this weekend, and there's no NASCAR. There's no golf, and there's no basketball. There's nothing.
Yeah, XFL suspended theirs too, because I got a message from Kevin that said XFL is going to go on, but then I got ahead on it. Then they said no. So it is going to be, and some of the Chase coaches who listen to the show, by the way, they came up and said, what are y'all going to talk about on Saturday, Tom? I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, because this was supposed to be an easy show to do, because we got the ACC tournament, we got March Madness, we had Selection Sunday, you had all kinds of stuff to talk about, but the bigger picture are people's health, and especially older Americans and people with respiratory ailments. And the thing that I was going to say, if you shut down the schools, this is what makes me nervous. All right, you shut down the schools. Well, what are you going to do? Well, mom and dad are still going to go to work. So where are some of these kids going to go? Some are going to go to daycare. Some are going to go to YMCA because they're still going to be around other kids. Some kids are going to go to grandma and grandpa's. And who doesn't need to be around it? Grandma and grandpa. So, I mean, that's what would concern me the most is you want to restrict the contact with older Americans, and this might facilitate contact with young people with older Americans. And one thing that people carry this thing for a while without even knowing.
Yeah, that's true.
For a number of days. So, I mean, it's just a scary time. I mean, both my parents are in their 70s. My dad's a heart patient. So, I mean, it's just a scary time.
And when you mention stuff like that, the thing I was always scared of, if you shut down schools and all of a sudden this kid goes, whoops, beach time. Everybody runs down there. I mean, you don't know what they're going to do. I know a parent's going to sit back and say no, but, sometimes students are grown up and old enough that they pretty much do what they want to do, and they all take off down there. And next thing you know, you got an avalanche down at the beach that shouldn't be happening, and there's more than 100 people. I mean, we keep hearing that. If there's anything over 100 people, it needs to be stopped.
I think, I think the safest place for kids right now are schools. I agree. I think the safest place for kids is schools. I wouldn't mind the athletic events going on. You don't naturally don't want the large crowds, but I think one thing you could do. Okay, we're not going to sell concessions. That'll cut down the amount of contact we have hand to hand, hand to mouth. You drop the thing on the floor. You step it in your shoes. You take your shoes off. You know what I mean. Now you've caught it. So I think that you could reduce it by just saying, okay, no concessions at events. And we highly recommend that if you were of a certain age or a certain condition that you do not attend any events. I think that might be better. But like I said, I mean, just like I was talking to Hunter, none of us are health experts. We hear things and then we hear something different and then we hear something different. So I'm not really sure what the best policy is, but I would say reduce the contact that younger people are going to have with older people because they're the most at risk.
I think one of the biggest questions is, when you bring people back and what the questions that people have is, what are the symptoms? How bad is it? And death rate, catch rate, all that stuff, contagion rate, all that. And it's almost, we don't have an answer to any of that. And that's what's kind of weird about it is how are we supposed to make decisions on things? And we look at the percentages and compare it to other diseases and other causes of death in America, what is the contagion rate? Is it that bad? Is it that contagious? A lot of questions with it.
Yeah, I actually feel like I go online and I see somebody that gets advice from a doctor, and every doctor it seems like is saying that it's something different. Like that, like this is
Right.
it's something different. Something they want to compare it to flu-like symptoms, and then I hear the people say, well, then it will the gunk that comes from it gets so thick that you'll just wind up with pneumonia, and you
Well,
know.
it's allergy season too.
Yeah,
combined
and
at
it
the
is
same
Yes,
time.
it
allergy
is.
season,
And so
and that's what they said. It's hard to differentiate sometimes between just allergies at first, between it if it's obviously COVID or just your allergies, but then obviously if it is not your allergies, it'll obviously get worse if you don't get treatment. And the one thing that is really getting people all up in arms though as well, and I would be as well, as it's the lack of testing that's available. There's been over that couple thousand tests that have been run in China and in South and North Korea, and then here it's maybe been just over
I heard
1,000.
Meck County just had a handful of tests.
they had 3. Well, what
Three,
it is?
yeah,
What it
that's
is?
did I hear that right?
Right,
3.
yeah.
I was
If they
wondering.
had 3 tests, well, the 2 people were tested positive in Mecklenburg County.
Really?
Yeah, there's two cases in Mecklenburg County. I think it's over towards the Ballantyne area.
So, all right. So, a couple of facts before we get into some more sports and stuff here in a little bit before we take our next break. Talking about, you said there's some, and you said Ballantyne and what was you just said right before that? I'm sorry, I was on
It was
looking at
just
reading
Mecklenburg County.
Mecklenburg County.
I know Wake County has got a case as well. I think there was 12 cases in the state of North Carolina.
I think
Okay,
eight
okay.
of
We're
them
sorry.
in
Back on the testing thing. So according to experts that I watch or read, China controls about 5% of our medical stuff. So they are actually hoarding a lot of that for themselves because it's worse there, and they create it and they said, well, if we make it, we're going to use it for our people first. That's the first problem. We have no, because of how we've outsourced our jobs in that sense, we have no production in America. We stopped producing, I think I heard in 2000, it was either 2 or 6, the types of things that we need for the test. So we don't even have the means of production in our country to do it because we've outsourced it. So this is a problem, and the problem is where we outsourced it is where the worst case is. So that's part of that issue. CDC was in Atlanta is not set up for this type of. It's not a pandemic organization. It's something completely different. Also, I'm being seen that some of the technicians they don't want to actually do the test because they don't want to be in contact with the actual test because they don't know about it. So a lot of it, just looking at the numbers, it is a problem. It is bad. A lot of it, I think, the way China reacted to the NBA and they just tidal flooded. I think a lot of that, there is way more fear and unknown, we could say, than there is facts and like, when do we go back? When do we say, okay, it like, say if it isn't back, it just plateaus off from right here and it wasn't bad. Like, when do we just say, okay, we'll go back to
And
normal
that's
on
one
that?
of the references that they're saying. It's like the phrase now is flatten the curve.
Right.
Flatten the curve. They don't want a ton of people to get sick at one time because they don't think, because our lack of testing, that the health infrastructure can keep up with it. Because I know they said that some places like in Italy and in China, they just send people home because they know that they can't get to them, and that's where the deaths come from. Because like people like I mean, I'm high risk for it. I have an immune system deficiency. And I grew up having asthma when I was little, so it's one of those things where it's like, just be cautious. Be cautious. I know some people say just wash your hands, and just be clean. But at the same time, I think social distancing won't be a bad thing for just a little while, because that's all they want to do is just confine it into one space and keep it from rising. And I think that'll work out just fine.
I think some of your worst parts too. I mean, people think this stuff. I mean, Tom just picked up his cell phone. Those are some of the worst things in the world to have.
Oh yeah.
Because half the people never clean them.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, my wife, when I got out yesterday to pump gas, she put sanitizer on my hands before I got out.
To
I
handle.
pumped the gas. She got back in, and she had it ready again.
And right
Do
now
it again.
And right now you
You
can't
know.
find any hand sanitizer.
That's it,
And that's,
you know.
that's another thing people are doing, hoarding up hand sanitizer, tissues, and toilet paper, which is stupid. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's just stupid.
I got some easy math for you on the toilet paper. All right, you ready? I saw this study, Terry. The average man takes 29 days to use one roll of toilet paper.
There you go.
How much does the average woman use a roll of toilet paper? How many days does it take to use it?
In a week.
Tom, you got to guess?
I maybe maybe a week to 2 weeks.
6 days, Terry.
Okay. That's why I knew it was close. Yeah.
But let's be honest and
Oh, we have
not
to.
disgusting that women have a higher
Yes.
need for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
They-
Everyone that I've seen on
Yes.
discussing
Well,
that go. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw something out there yesterday.
So I'm just
Uh,
saying, do some math for your family on how much you need,
Yeah.
as opposed to the jerks selling it for $25 a roll or right now.
Or my favorite person, Jeff Bezos, letting people sell hand sanitizer for $50 on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Well, I'm going to
That's
mention
just
something.
disgusting.
This happened yesterday, and if you don't think people are going a little crazy, people, they are, because I was at a space, and I'm not saying where it's at, what it's doing, anything, but a lady had 2 whole things full of toilet paper and paper towels. Another lady went back there. They were sitting in line. There was none left of the toilet paper. So she comes back up there and said, well, I'd at least like to have one, and mentioned to that person who had the 2 things, could I have one? Lady turned her down, said, no, this is mine. Should have got here early. Now, folks, and this lady got mad. The
Yeah.
one that did not get any.
I don't blame them for getting mad. I saw a picture yesterday that was actually outrageous. It was almost an hour wait for a line to get into a Costco because people were going for toilet paper.
Why
Unreal.
Why toilet paper? That's the weirdest thing
Because
ever.
they think that the supply disruption.
Yeah, you're going to be limited at home. You're
Yeah.
going to have to.
What? What,
JP?
JP?
Right.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why would you need?
There you go.
Just why would you? Why just the buying
Did
of
you
so
see
much
the-
that you wouldn't ever need is just
Yeah.
the weirdest. That's one of the weird things. Like that's not like food. Like it's not like hey, we might have to share some food.
It's not like you couldn't use a towel if you had to.
or a leaf
Yeah.
or
Not a leaf,
or,
no.
or
Just
There are no leaves, Kevin. The
Yeah.
leaves have all been ground up. The ones that are left are not suitable for wiping.
why not, Tom?
Because they've been on the ground since October. Of course, I did see the Bradford pears, but they have the little bitty leaves.
Yeah.
so I don't
Yeah.
think
You had to
Uh,
get quite a few
did
of
you
them.
Well,
see,
the
uh,
yellow flowers are blooming all over
it
the
was
place.
what was it? I think it was a high school student that got caught selling Germex squirts.
Yeah.
If people wanted to use his hand sanitizer, he charged them.
That's one thing I had bought like a long time ago, well, about 4 or 5 months ago, a half gallon of hand sanitizer at a trade lot because the pump was broken off the top. So I just used it to like fill up my bottles. And I tell the kids, you sneeze, get some of that. We're not doing it. And one kid came up to me and said, Mr. Cinefarni, you need to go ahead and sell that. I was like, why would I do that? I mean,
Yeah.
why are you going to? I mean, I like money as much as anybody, but why are you going to profit off people's fears of disease? And it turned out the kid was kidding because he said, yeah, I seen it on Amazon for $50 and all that. I said, yeah, it's disgusting, isn't it? Yeah, it really is what people are doing, selling hand sanitizer for $50 a bottle. And of course, like I said, the most hated man in America for me, Jeff Bezos, allows that to happen. People like him who have already got X billions of dollars need to step up and say, hey, we're not doing this. You know what I mean? We're not doing this. I don't want to be part of that. Kick those people off of your website. Kick them off.
But I will say one thing about American: if we all think that people are bad, and I go back to Zion Williamson and a few of
That's what I
big
said.
time Blake
Yeah.
Griffin,
Yeah.
who are giving
Kevin Love.
100,000, yes, to their people that work at their arenas for them because they're not going to have a job.
JP, you ready?
I give them a lot
Yeah.
of credit.
Thumbs up from JP. He's sitting up. Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more. not of really what we're going on. We need to go over what's been going on in NASCAR last week. We do got some updates on that and some sports that we do. Hunter can give you his final XFL takes from the end of the first season of XFL.
Yeah.
We've got some other and maybe some NFL free agency news and a couple of other news and notes and fun tweets and a couple other things to do when we get back on KDCBroadcasting.com.
No.
Saying. All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Good morning. KTCBroadcast.com. I got to turn JP off for a second. Real quick, and as we went into baseball, Terry, we'll talk about that real quick. They have postponed spring training and pushed back the start of the season. Just got those emails from the Braves. Talk about our broadcast. KTC, as far as all this heavily affects our programming across the board. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the show, but as far as, we have, high school baseball and basketball. We've got college baseball coming, the NCAA tournament coming up. ACC tournament was going to be this weekend. NFL. I know we don't have that hopefully that won't be affected at all and we can get through it. But, it's so much on us. We're losing program, racing program. We thought we was going to be able to have that. So that's programming we're losing. So KTC is going to be a lot of music, a lot of updates. So people stay tuned and listen to us online on KTCBroadcasting.com. Click the big green button up top. Pick a station to listen to. Country music on WCSL, oldies and beach on WLON and WOHS. A little lighthearted tweet here, Terry, for you baseball folks. Tom, you was talking about the gatherings of certain numbers of people in Florida. They said if there's no gatherings of 500 people rule and it just catches on for a while, the Miami Marlins will be able to start their season early this year.
Oh,
Tampa Bay could probably join them too. Hornets could probably play some games. They could just host the games in Charlotte.
I don't understand why they don't take those baseball teams out of Florida and put them in some kind of Rust Belt town somewhere where people don't really have much else except to go to the game. I mean, where you watch the St. Louis XFL team and they put all those because they lost their football. Yeah,
twice.
I mean, people talk about how it's a dying Rust Belt town, but I'm telling you, when you're in one of those towns and you put a team in there, they'll go.
they will.
When you're in Florida and you can go to the beach or you can go to the theme parks or all this other stuff, it's just harder. It's like putting that team in Las Vegas, Oakland, blue collar, working class. You're going to put it in Vegas? I mean, I just don't understand why you would put a team where there's too much other stuff to compete with it. I don't know. I think both those teams would be better served in other cities. But, I guess they're making money somehow. If they've got 20 fans at a game and somehow you're still making money, I guess, you're getting enough money off your media, TV, whatever, those kind of things. But put it in a town where somebody appreciates it. Weren't they talking about Montreal getting a team again, Terry?
Mm-hmm.
There was whispers of that which team was going to play half its teams and
Split half of
Tampa.
the games up
was
there.
it Tampa?
Yeah.
Tampa was going to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, but in '94
They were going to play the cold months in Tampa
and the
warm months in Montreal is what they were talking.
But Montreal at the '94 season, when they had a good chance to win the World Series and the guys walked out and went on strike, well, they just never came back.
What if they did a team like that in Puerto Rico and then rotate that? Then you have French, Spanish, and English fans. Marketing.
That would be good.
Marketing. You could sell 3 different kinds of all your alternate jerseys, Hunter. Just think about how many jerseys we'd have to order.
Goodness gracious.
But the
See, I'm gonna
3
mention
different
something.
countries and 3 different languages.
And I'm
That'd be a
glad
great
y'all
move.
start mentioning stuff like that because this is where, and I know on here, y'all hear me say it all the time. When we start taking our stuff across the ocean, come on, y'all. And when we do stuff like that, keep it here in America. We
Right.
don't have to go to London.
About TV ratings, Terry.
Yeah, well, I don't care what it's all about. This is how all of this stuff starts. When you start sending our groups across the ocean and having an opportunity to bring stuff back with them that you don't know what happens over there, what they touch, what anything happens over there, that it can come back here and look what's happening. I mean, y'all, that's the reason when I start hearing stuff like that and we say, hey, man, we're going to London this year. Next year, we're going to go to Israel, maybe Japan the next year. I do not like any of that. Never have, never will.
Don't want to show the rest of the world how much fun we Americans have playing sports, Terry.
There you go. Just leave it on us.
We
enjoy it here.
Where he gets his takes from sometimes, Tom. I don't know what side of the bed y'all need to switch sides of the bed, Terry. You've been waking up on the wrong side for a while. Looking at some of what's going on in Major League Baseball season, official word came down Thursday afternoon. Spring training games canceled, and the 2020 season will be delayed at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, they sent all them players home. Told them to go home.
Some of them are not going home. Some of them are staying still. Trevor Bauer, have you seen this, Hunter,
Oh, God.
on the internet?
What was he saying?
It's pretty cool.
All right, well, make it
Good.
cool because he's a hothead.
Make
so
it
I'm
cool.
when you say Trevor Bauer, I'm thinking,
He said, "Oh God, make it cool."
What did he say? What did he say? 'Cause
He is
I-
organizing. You ready?
Okay.
A pickup Sandlot game/league in Arizona of all the Major League Baseball players and people still there, and they're going to live stream the games with the players mic'd up like they were in spring training.
Now, I like that part about the mic'd up the players, but
So
Other than that-
to any Major League Baseball and players in Arizona who want in on the Sandlot game, please respond to name the company that's going to do the broadcasting. We'll organize with you. All pitchers and hitters will be mic'd up. Mandatory is mic'd up. Open to any and all rule suggestions. Let me know. One of the rules they're discussing is that the players cannot play their regular positions. Is one of the rules that they're coming up with.
That's a good way to get somebody hurt.
Yeah,
too.
there you go. Well, I'm going to ask you something else. And you talk about mic'd up. Guys, I don't like people mic'd
God,
up.
Terry just hates everything.
I don't like that at all.
Why?
I'm going to walk up to a coach, your team just played poorly, and I'm going to ask you, now, coach, what do you need to do?
Well-
I don't know what's getting ready to come out of his mouth.
That-
But
you
see,
know,
that's why
everywhere though. Even at halftime.
all sports, XFL, everything should be HBO style, where I want to hear all the cussing and yelling. If I can pay for it, you can watch a regular
Yeah, but
channel.
you got students,
can watch-
kids that
that-
never know what that is.
That's
and
what
all
I'm
of a
saying,
sudden, hey,
Terry.
I'm saying
You
this
can
next
watch.
week. It's
You can
cool.
watch Fox Family Channel for the Cowboys Panthers game, or you can watch the HBO feed where even the announcers are just like, "What the?"
Well, I'm gonna ask Hunter this because I know he's watched a lot of XFL, and my mom is talking because my mom loves this. My mom
Yeah.
watches football. She got into it. She goes, "Well, I like it when they're up there saying, oh, whiskey."
I
75."
love that.
Do you
Look,
do you
I-
like that?
I like
but,
that.
But here's my thing.
I don't see any cheating in it.
But what?
They can be
But
though.
why would
I
you
don't.
want? Why would you want all your code language broadcast on? That's what I don't understand.
Peyton Manning
Hunter.
got made millions off a
Look,
commercial off of
I'm
his
telling
code
you.
language.
Omaha,
I don't-
Omaha,
Yeah.
Omaha.
Yes, he did.
Well, I don't understand that, Hunter. It's like, why do you want to give away all your code language to the other team?
I'm sure the coaches don't like that at all. That's who doesn't like that.
Yeah,
at all.
I mean,
I love it.
And
I
that
think
can
it's
be
fine.
picked up. I can sit there and know exactly what you're calling.
Okay,
But
I
if
mean,
you remember, the game is about fun and entertainment, and not about.
I don't need you to know what I'm getting ready to call.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. But what I don't like, what I don't like is the dumb questions that those sideline reporters ask
I'd
when they
agree.
get off the field.
but that
I
is-
think
but-
they need to wait just a few more
thought we were
seconds
talking
before
about
they're
that.
like, all right, grab him right now and ask him a question. That I remember when they asked Landry Jones in his first game when he was playing with the XFL, were playing with the Defenders. First game because he missed week 1. And he looked awful. And they asked him, and they were like, "So, what do you got to do to try and start playing better?" And I'm like, don't you think he's sitting there wondering the same thing right now? You don't have to reiterate in his face that he looks at him. He's like, "Oh, well, I just got to complete some throws. I got to be on target." I'm
To
like,
my
well,
team.
yeah, to my team. And then, but the best time that they got some of the best snippets out of that week 1. Whenever they got
It's only
whatever
like
Matt-
3 of 19.
they Matt McGloin guy that was like, they were getting ready to go into halftime, and he was like, "We just need to change up the whole offensive system. We just need to change the whole. It's just not working." He was like 3 for 12, or 3 for 13
was bad.
on his own. I mean, it's so funny.
But I will say this, that I've
Yeah.
seen you do it. I think you did a good job with those press conferences,
Uh-huh.
asking the questions, asking good questions.
Mhm.
I almost like Borrego was in there the last time. Well, I went last Saturday, and I wanted to ask him about Hernan Gomez
Mhm.
and his contribution to his team. He really gives a spark off the bench. I was thinking, I'd ask that question. How do you feel like that? And then I was like, no, chicken out. Guess what somebody did the last
Yeah,
question?
just asked
Asked about that. And I said,
Asked
I needed it because I really wanted to ask a good question.
Yeah.
So, it is hard to come up with good, meaningful questions. Like,
You try not to get somebody mad
Well,
at
see,
you
in
too.
that, in
Yeah.
that, in yeah, and
I mean,
do
I
be
asked Ben
mad.
Simmons, "Hey, you think you win championship?" Dumb question, bro.
yeah, I mean, it is,
Okay.
it is
You
tough.
make out
but
the second round.
It's tough, but
it's,
for those,
it's tough to ask a good one.
but for those on the sideline, right? Because for those, it's tough because, well, it
Sideline's got
doesn't have
producers
to. Yeah, I was
and-
about to say the sideline's difficult because sometimes you really don't want to ask that question, but the person in your ear said, "Look, I need you to grab such and such. I want you to ask him about such and such." So sometimes it's out of their control if you're a sideline reporter. Because I did sideline reporting for a different network during a high school football season one time, and they would get in my ear sometimes. Say, "Look, I need you to try and grab so and so after this and so, and half the time I'm like, "Hey, he's not gonna want me to grab him right now. He's trying to go and talk to his team right now." And then, but I'd have to say, "Coach, do you have a minute?" And if they'd say yes or no, and if they'd say no, I'm like, "Sorry, boys, you're out of luck. I'm not gonna pester him."
Yeah.
So, but and sometimes that's like how I can feel like it's kind of forced sometimes, especially after the quarterback makes a big turnover. Sure, you can talk to the defensive back who's going to be real happy and be really excited. You don't really know what's going to come out of his mouth just yet, so that's fine. But as soon as you go over there and talk to the quarterback, you definitely don't know what's going to come out of his mouth either, because he might look at you and be so mad that you're even asking him that question. He might go off on you. But when it comes to like that question, usually like if I in like a press meeting or an interview session, you kind of have a little bit of time to think about it and write it down. Especially like when we're at the games, you see something in the first half, sometimes I'll take my computer, I jot it down, and I'm like, all right, that'll be something that I ask.
That's kind of what I was doing during the game.
Yeah.
I was taking mental notes.
Yeah.
And then I just thought about Kevin screaming at me for embarrassing the station if I ask a bad question.
Well, every time I watch the XFL, which I have turned over and glanced a few things, but it's almost like watching Clint Eastwood, the good, the bad, and the ugly. When you're on the right side, the dude just intercepted one. You're going to be good on that side.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to go to the bad side, asking this guy, how come you throw it? Then you're getting ready to hear the ugly part of what he's getting ready to tell you.
Yeah.
That sounds like
why
so
you
much.
asking?
That sounds like so much fun, Terry.
Yeah.
I
I'm
just
telling you. I'm telling you.
What were you thinking when you threw it right to the guy on the other
I mean,
team?
Yeah.
did you not see him?
Well, they can look at him and say, well, Karen.
That's what I was about to say. Well, lady, what happened was that the 285-pound linebacker stepped into the zone.
Yeah.
He
Yes,
jumped,
I just think
jumped
it's
my pass. You know,
I think it'd be
I
fun.
thought he was going over the top. Instead, he came under him.
But I will say there's a lot to see that you don't really see until they start breaking down the film for you on the replay. And a lot of times, literally, they cannot see the guy that just intercepted the ball. He just
Right.
makes a great
Well,
play, you know.
Listen, you're most of the time as what you're doing. There's a lot of depth perception. I think it's going to help Jameis too.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing your read. So he's got your first read, and if he's not open, you're kind of looking at your second one in your periphery, or you're thinking that you look back here. Well, then by the time you look back to your third one, the zone and the players have moved. So a lot of times you'll throw a pick to a linebacker who stepped back into an area that he wasn't when he first started. Like you're thinking, look here, look here, look here. This linebacker's not going to be there. You turn and throw. Dang it, there's a guy there. The one I threw the most interceptions on, I'll be honest, I'm going to put blame on somebody. My tight end had no idea where he was going. And so sometimes the receivers do run the wrong routes. And there was one thing with Witten and his Z route or Y routes, Terry, is that, and a lot of people didn't understand about the Cowboys when Romo would throw one of them picks and it looked like what you just said, like, well, Tony, why'd you throw it here? Well, the receiver there chose the different routes. The Cowboys, it was all option routes when Dez and Witten were there. So every receiver had a different route. So Romo, when he planted his foot, a lot of times was hoping that they were reading the same read, because I'm going outside. If Witten turns this way, well, there's whoever just standing in the zone and picks it off. So there are a lot of those, and you're just like, what are you guys doing? And that's the communication. When you see them talking to each other, that's probably what happened. Is it was a read instead of a actual route that they were supposed to run. I wanted to go through the MLB odds, and then I've got about 5 or 6 points I wanted to get to before the show's over. AL East, who do you guys think has the best odds to win the World Series?
The Yankees.
I was getting ready to say, it's got to be the Yankees.
Yankees are 3-1. The over/under on wins is 100.5. Y'all taking over or under on 100?
I would take
I'm
the over.
taking over. Yeah.
I'll take the over.
Did
But
Boston,
now, if you, I mean, this is something about baseball that we all have to realize. And if you shorten the season and there are going to be less games, and you always have a team who gets off to a great big early start and then they dwindle as the year goes back and end up being last. This is my Kansas City range. Get off quick at the start of the year, because if it's shortened, you might have an opportunity.
I've seen them, Terry, right now. The discussion is that they're going to play double headers and back end the season instead of cutting games right now.
Should you have that, though?
Because
Because
there's
that usually splits.
There's 160 damn games.
Well,
I don't like
was supposed
that.
to say
But how about
162 games.
Tom, why don't you
What's
move
gonna
over
hurt
where
cutting
the
20
camera?
or
You
30?
keep getting further and further away from your middle of your.
Yeah, I
You're
don't
about
like
to
I don't
screw
like
it.
the double headers, because it's usually one team wins, then the other team wins.
Yeah, because
Well,
one team's just like
what I was going to
tired.
say, is, okay, say you want to do more double headers. Would you let them to go ahead and have those expanded rosters that you do at the end of the year, so you have the more pitchers to handle that? Would you go ahead and let them do that?
No, because now you got to face 3 batters. You don't need that many pitchers.
But you're still, I mean,
Don't
But
they
can-
have
can
You
that
already have
change
one extra
coming up?
roster spot. They already got one extra, and you got to pass three batters.
but if you expand, how big do they expand the rosters like at the end of the year? Don't they expand it by like 10 players?
They start they do 40, then they cut back to something else for the playoffs. It's back to like 30 for the playoffs or something like that.
But they
I don't know.
expand at the end of the year.
They do.
Right.
They expand. So why
They
not
get
just,
because the minor league's over.
why not just let them go ahead and expand, and then you
Mhm.
can have the extra to do the extra games, because you can't do double headers every day without, you got to have some pitchers to do that, Terry. I mean, you can't do that with 5 pitchers. With starting pitchers,
Well,
you
there's
can't do
12
that.
or 13 on the roster. These boys need to toughen up, Tom. You know what Nolan Ryan did one time? a lot of things these kids would never ever do.
But it was Nolan Ryan. I mean,
you
man,
always need to toughen up.
remember when Nolan Ryan
Ain't that
beat
right,
up
Terry?
Robin Ventura? Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was
All
all
right, AL Central. Who's got
Wait a
the
minute,
best
who's
odds?
Kansas City, man? Are
I'm
we even
moving
close?
it. Who's
right
odds?
there? Right there.
I'm moving it so Terry, you can't read it. I'm asking you to
Burn.
guess first.
Oh.
It's probably
Who's got the
it's
best odds to
probably-
win?
It's probably Minnesota.
Terry,
and
got a
Cleveland.
guess?
Cleveland's probably
Cleveland.
right
I'm
there.
gonna say Cleveland. I mean,
The best odds to win the World Series are the Chicago White Sox at
Really?
15-1. However, they are picked to have the third most wins in the division.
That doesn't make any sense.
Minnesota has the most wins at the over-under. Kansas
Ooh.
City is 66.
Hey, we got a shot.
What's Cleveland? 90.
86 for the Cleveland Indians. 40-1 odds for the Indians to win the World Series. 16-1 to win the American League. So how can the White Sox, Hunter, gambling, explain this to me, be picked over under 85 wins, but they have 15-1 odds to win the World Series over the two teams they have? You can't win the World Series in third place, can you?
Man,
Well, I guess you can now.
you can. I guess they're just taking. Maybe they've got depth at the bullpen. Maybe what they just brought in Dallas out of Atlanta. They've made off-season moves. The White Sox have. Do I think it's immediate World Series contention? No.
And we're talking
but
about the Chicago White Sox.
yeah, not even the Cubs. Like not the
Yeah.
other Chicago.
Yeah,
Not
that
even the
people have
Cubs.
never heard of in a while.
I think they have. I think the White Sox haven't been relevant in what, 10 years?
Oh, it's been a while.
10, 15 years? Paul Konerko was the last White Sox I can remember that was actually worth something. And that was what, early 2000s?
I think Cleveland's pitching staff, because they're so young. You know, some of the Bauer's gone and Kluber's gone, and you know, I like Clevenger. I think he's pretty good. I mean, they've got some good young pitchers, but I guess they don't have the confidence in them as they would. You know, some of that. I mean, I think that's
Well,
the
that's a
reason why they
giveaway.
made some they made some moves on their pitching staff, because they thought these younger guys developed faster than they did. So hopefully they prove them wrong. I'd like to see them win 90, 95 games, get back in the playoffs, but. You know, they lost Kipnis at second base, too. They kind of went cheap on his replacement. So I guess we'll just see.
AL West.
Just Houston.
Oh, that's for sure, Houston.
Tom.
But it would not surprise me if they're not next to last or last with everybody gunning for them.
Yeah, I guess Houston's got to be the favorite.
I'd say
8-1. They're the favorite. 94.5 wins. The Angels 20-1, 86 wins. I would bet the under. Oakland Athletics
Under.
90.5 wins. 20-1. Seattle 250 and Texas 60-1. National League East. Real quick before I go on, Terry, I've seen people all day on Twitter and all night the last 2 days tweeting their videos out of them playing the Major League Baseball game and them hitting Astros players.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what people are doing for fun right now on the internet with
Well,
nothing
see,
to do at home. They're
but-
hitting Astros players
But they
That's
can,
scary.
they can,
on the video game.
they can take care of all of it by just, like I was telling them, take the crown. Why have they not taken the crown yet? I
2
don't understand.
bases per hit batter. Use the rule. It would change baseball. And also 3 balls, Tom. I want 3 balls and 2 bases per hits batter.
Yeah,
You like
I guess
those?
that would force the pitcher to throw more strikes. That would cause more contact. That would shorten the game, definitely.
Mike Trout fans would love that if you can walk on 3 balls, Hunter. I mean, he would never swing the bat.
Never.
All right, NL East.
The Nationals.
Tom,
They
Terry?
just won the World Series. So.
I'm
Yeah.
taking Atlanta.
Braves 14-1.
Yeah, Atlanta's
Have
got a
better
good team.
odds than the Nationals
Thank
at 20-1. The Mets have the second best odds
Mets
in
are
the
good,
division
too.
at 18-1.
Is that Miami's new logo?
And the Nationals 20-1. It's one of their weird things.
God
Yeah.
almighty, just scrap that.
But who's gonna
franchise.
who's gonna
They've
manage?
won how many World Series?
Who's gonna manage the Mets?
That's right.
Who's gonna manage them?
One of the
gonna manage
greatest
them?
of all time. They've
Uh,
been
I
there
don't,
and they
I don't
win.
know who took over the Mets after they let what's
Terry
his name
Collins.
go. Okay.
I
Beltran.
just
wasn't
he
it?
knows. Oh, Beltran's out.
No, yeah, he's
That's what I'm
out.
saying. Beltran's out. So who's
They
gonna manage him?
nexed him as fast as they hired him.
Well, the odds have 4 National League East teams with winning records, Hunter. So it
I'm
looks,
telling you,
looks pretty
that's-
competitive.
It was
Everybody
that's,
but the
that's
Marlins.
why I just said the Nationals, mostly because I don't see the Nationals taking much of a step back. They didn't lose much.
Mhm.
They lost what's his name that went to the Angels. Oh gosh,
Reardon.
Rendon.
Oh, Rendon.
Yeah, I was
Not
gonna say
John
right,
Jeff
you had
Reardon.
the R gave it away. I was like, yeah, Rendon. They lost Rendon, but they still have the young gun. He just showed it last year in Juan Soto. If he comes out there and is still productive, they still have Scherzer and Strasburg on their pitching staff. They lock Strasburg up for even longer. I'm telling you, they're gonna be tough to beat. The Phillies don't ever figure it out as long as Bryce Harper's with them, so I'm not worried about
All right,
them.
NL Central.
I'm gonna go with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Don't be stupid. Don't be
I'm gonna say
stupid.
Cincinnati.
Don't be stupid.
You're on to Cincinnati.
0 for 2.
I was gonna say the Brewers or the
Nobody gonna take
the
St. Louis.
Brewers or the Cardinals, but I think I'm gonna go with the Brewers as well.
0 for 3. Y'all are so stupid. St. Louis with the best odds, 12-1, 86 wins, 7-1 to win the National League.
So they're saying 86 wins is gonna win the NL Central.
Based on Vegas, yes. They also have 4 teams with a
What
winning record. In
What
the,
a great
and
division! What a
Pittsburgh
great
dead
division
last.
when you can win it with 86
Pittsburgh.
wins.
well, the Cardinals won the World Series with 83 wins, Tom. When the Cleveland Indians want to pitch in any time in the next 50 years, y'all can.
They
Go
haven't won
ahead.
nothing since 1948.
That's what it was, 48. So
Yeah.
70 years now.
They've been there 4 times.
62.
They've 0-4.
62. Let's talk about the Cardinals.
This is our year too.
All right. I do know, remember that. I got y'all diagram.
Hunter, we are cutting that right there
This is our year.
with Tom just
is our
grumbling into the microphone. This
Tom,
is our
can,
year.
can you
Terry.
do this for
That's
me?
a highlight.
This
That's
is
going
our
on.
year.
Hey,
I've actually started to. You know what these are? These are Indians giveaway jerseys that everyone puts on
On the internet.
selling ass. But I'm collecting them. I've got a Miller jersey. He's not with him anymore, but he went to Carolina. That's actually kind of cool. I've got a Santana jersey. I've got a Omar Vizquel jersey. So I just go on there and let people go to the games and get them. and
Well,
sell
as
them.
long baseball
This
season
is my Kenny.
Since
This is
baseball
Kenny
season is
Lofton. This is my
There
Kenny
you go.
Lofton.
Hey, I
Kenny
like
Lofton.
Kenny Lofton.
Yeah, it's my
I
Lofton.
like
baseball
Lofton.
season being postponed, I'll just postpone putting on my Ronald Acuna jersey then.
Yeah.
Postpone
Some people
it
never
for now.
liked Kenny Lofton. I did. I always say he's a great leadoff batter.
National League West.
That's easy against the Dodgers.
Oh, there's no doubt.
No,
Yeah.
I mean they definitely after adding Mookie Betts.
As
Y'all don't
depth
be-
that they are.
Be
yeah,
easy,
that's
guys.
theirs.
Be easy.
Nah,
No,
but
it is
look
the
at that.
Dodgers.
Though,
San
look at that,
Diego's
the,
in
the
second.
fall,
Yeah.
the fall of greatness.
101.
The San Francisco
They'll have
Giants.
every bit of that.
The fall of greatness.
100-1 odds, and for the Giants and the
Hey,
Rockies.
Bumgarner at Arizona.
JP.
I like that. Mason Saunders. We gotta love it. He's gonna do some rodeos
Yeah.
probably while he's in
If
Arizona.
you can't pull for Mason Saunders, you can't pull for nobody. We'll be back in a
Exactly.
few minutes on KTCBroadcasting.com. Hey, JP. Hey, JP. We got you. Good morning, buddy. Are you awake? You breathing?
He's awake.
You want to come look at some of
No,
our?
yeah.
You want to come look at some of our sports cards? No. I've got some baseball and basketball and football cards in here.
Y'all got any Hall of Famers? I do.
Yeah, there's quite a bit over here.
George Brett.
I do.
Quite a bit over here, Terry. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. I got a couple of list of
I
things
didn't
I
ask
wanted.
it out of yours, a whole bunch of
I
cards.
wanted to go over.
Hall of Famer.
Darryl Green.
Hall of Famer.
Fastest man ever to play pro football.
Hmm.
If he wasn't, he was close.
Yeah, Bob Hayes.
So
Get him.
the NCAA going to eliminating the tournament. They actually thought about a couple of different other things or ways to do. Two things I want to talk about. One, they actually discussed going to a 16-team tournament and doing it that way.
Saw that.
And
Saw that.
and then what do you think about that? I thought that was. Go ahead, Terry. You ever say?
I don't think that's correct. If you're going to stop it, you stop it. You can't go all the way from 68 down to 16 and say these are the people that are the best, because eventually you're going to leave out somebody that could have won.
Why they do it in football?
That's
Yeah,
what
I'm
they do.
sorry.
4 teams in football,
Right.
but
Do
we
it
can't
right.
do
Not the way
16
college
in basketball.
basketball was this year. How many top 10 teams got beat? It's the most all time, probably. If not, it's the second. So there's no way you could have easily said,
Well,
I'm going to
there-
pick 16 teams.
That's been the narrative all year for college basketball. Is there's no pure dominant
There you
team.
go.
And it, I mean, it's
Pick.
difficult to have a
And how
dominant
many
team.
champions of leagues are you going to leave out
Go
that don't even have a chance?
championship.
You could say
For all-
all championship leagues. If you didn't win your championship, hoo-ha, get on out of here.
I mean, you
Well,
could.
I mean, at some
That's
point you
right.
got to
You-
be cut.
You,
bro.
I mean, you do it. You
I mean,
would,
you
would
could
have
easy
to
for
do
the
it that
ACC.
way.
You'd have to go Florida State and nobody else.
That's exactly right.
How
Yeah,
many-
you would have to do it that way.
How many?
But now you think Coach K is going to go with
well,
that?
Coach K and them
How
already
many-
said they
no,
wouldn't
How many
partake.
Division One champions? How many Division One conferences are there in basketball?
If you'll give me a few moments and waste some
32.
airtime while I hit some buttons. here.
Well, I'm just saying.
All right, you
I
ready?
would say all of those. Just let all of those, and then I don't know if there would be 16.
That's a lot. That's more than 16.
But are those all Division One? All Division One.
Yeah, all Division One.
Whack, Sun Belt,
Ain't there
MAC.
32 total?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Take
There's
you would-
about
you-
35 or 36.
You would have to.
actually.
So if you wanted to at least appease almost everybody that are conference championships, you'd have to at least have 32 teams.
Yeah,
You can't.
you-
You couldn't just drop it straight to 16.
Listen,
I think you could.
I would say just
I
do it
think-
anyway, because either you're not Terry. If you just cut off, let's say you got to cut off somebody, you cut it off at 16. Well, if we don't play at those 17 through 32 teams, aren't going to win the championship anyway. So they really don't have an argument to get in. Just how about get in?
So how you going to pick your 16?
The same way they do in football. Just do your voters like you guys love.
Well, then, so you got to
We
put
love our
Duke in.
voters.
Duke didn't win the ACC.
That's fine. We love our voters.
Well, if they wanted to do it, they would just go by the final AP standings. Just do all
Well,
of
how
them.
could you say that when Duke got beat by who beat them at home this year? They
What?
shouldn't have lost.
hey,
Well, they lost
mean-
at home to Clemson.
Well, I know it
And
was
they
another
lost.
team.
They lost in
Wake
Wake
Forest
Forest
beat
in
'em.
double overtime.
Well,
that
it
was
a
that way.
non-conference team. that
Oh,
beat-
Stephen F. Austin.
there you go, Stephen F. Austin.
That was
Did they
what?
win their conference? And you'd say, okay, y'all can't be in, but Duke can, and Duke didn't win theirs. I don't know what Stephen F. Austin won or lost. I don't know.
I think
haven't
they
checked.
still had a good year, but I don't think that
You
they
know.
won.
if it
that.
was
I
just the
don't know
top
what they're
16, the AP, it would be Kansas, Gonzaga, Dayton, Florida State, Baylor, San Diego State, Creighton, Kentucky, Michigan State, Duke, Villanova, Maryland, Oregon, BYU, Louisville, and Seton Hall.
Now
Fair.
drop on down and see who's down below
And the
that.
coaches poll is actually the exact same 16 teams.
Fair enough.
So there you go. Your Wisconsin, your Big Ten champions, not in it.
They were co-champions.
Well, the Big Ten champions are
They
not
were.
in it.
They were co-champions.
Co-champions with Maryland, so Maryland would get in. And, a
And
third
Michigan
team.
State is in.
How'd they do against each other? They split?
Bah.
Huh?
Hey,
I don't know about
Terry,
head-to-heads.
Terry, you
Sorry.
remember this argument and what you're saying right now when we get to football season. I just want you to remember what you're saying. Everything you're
What?
saying right now, I mean, you're making my football.
You know why I'm saying that? Number one, it's better than nothing.
That's the only thing I'm going with. It is
it's
better.
be-
than
it's
nothing.
better than nothing. And in number two, you really did it fairly. These were the 16 top ranked teams, and I understand Terry's argument that it's been fluid. Okay, we've had how many number ones this year, and Kansas has kind of hung on to it for a little while
Yeah,
there
they
at the
have.
end. But there's been a lot of number one teams. I understand that. There's been some fluidity. I mean, Ohio State was number 2 in the country at one time. Then they fell all the way out of the top 25.
Did you
They
see
got
Joe
back.
Lenardi
But-
released his bracket and had 2 Big 12 teams as 1 seeds in Baylor and Kansas?
Terry,
But
Wisconsin
Baylor
also
had a
has
good year. I mean,
10
I know
losses.
yeah,
that,
Baylor had
but-
a very, very solid year. How many did they lose, Hunter?
Baylor, well, I think they lost 3 or 4 games.
4 games.
They lost 4.
20,
They-
26.
Kansas lost 3.
They lost a couple at the end, though.
Uh,
a couple of their
here's your
losses were
problem.
towards the end.
Baylor's 26-4.
Michigan State would get in over Wisconsin
The Michigan State is 22-9.
But they're co-champions.
with
I think it was
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I
Wisconsin
can't-
has double-digit losses.
just take the top 16. Terry.
No, that's not how it works.
It's top.
It doesn't matter. We ain't doing it.
Terry,
I know.
Terry, what do you mean it's not how it works?
It's not how it works.
At some point, you have to make a choice, Terry. At some point, you have to make a choice of who you're letting in.
You're
and who
putting
not.
Duke in and
You
leading
can't go.
Florida State.
You
and
can't go.
dro-
You can't go. Bernie Sanders. Everybody gets in.
Michigan
Okay,
State
it doesn't
split.
work that
Michigan
way.
State split with both Wisconsin and
There you go, split.
the other team.
You got to take the top percent, Terry.
Well, no,
it's okay.
no,
you
no,
got to
you
take
could,
the
well,
top
you could
percent.
do this technically since they did split the Big Ten championship. You got to put the 3 Big Ten champions in,
I'm
and
sorry.
you could take Duke out because they technically did not win
Well,
the ACC,
right.
but Florida
I'm
State would
sorry
have
Michigan
to stay.
State beat the ACC and Wisconsin couldn't beat North Carolina State. Okay.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, I guess that's why they're out. They couldn't beat State.
That's a very good barometer. If you've been beat by NC State, you do not deserve to be.
NC State wasn't that bad. They
In
just
the-
weren't that good.
in the
they
NC
weren't that bad.
Listen,
Well, look,
They
the
weren't
one
Tom,
that
since
bad.
1983, if you've lost to NC State, you are not eligible to win the national championship. Since
They
1983.
weren't that bad, Kev. I mean, they weren't good because they would go 15 minutes and not score. But when they were good, they were good. When they were bad, they were
You got
bad.
a 2-loss San Diego State team sitting there at 6. And Joe Lenardi had the audacity to come out in his bracket, which we all know is not 100%, but he sits in his office and works on that for weeks.
Audacity.
Thinking that 2 Big 12 teams should get number 1 seeds
over San Diego
over
State.
San Diego State, or even over Florida State, because his number 1 seeds were Kansas, Baylor, Gonzaga, and Dayton. He didn't even put Florida State in there, and they're sitting there at 4. Like,
If North
they've had
Carolina,
just as good of a season.
if North Carolina or Duke, and here's what's aggravating about college sports is a lot of it is about your name. If North Carolina or Duke were 26-5 and the champion of the ACC, they would be a 1 seed. There wouldn't be any questions. We wouldn't even be talking about it.
You're right.
But the name is Florida State at 26-5, and now we don't know if they're where we would put them. And that the same thing happens in football, and that's what's happening right now in the basketball. Remember when Carolina
I
or Duke
agree.
win,
I
it's a
agree.
good conference. When Florida State wins, the conference is down.
Even though the biggest thing of Florida State that I give them a lot of credit for this year is when you look at the ACC and you say Florida State led them in free throw shooting, led the whole ACC. When you say that, that's clinching. To me, that clinches games at the end that some people cannot.
And
Gotta hit your
Hamilton
free throw.
preaches that defense too. Florida State plays lockdown defense every week. It seems like they only have 5 losses for a reason, and you cannot discredit. That's what I don't like about it either. You cannot discredit winning the ACC.
They get
You
they
No,
get,
can't.
you cannot.
they get after it. I watched them. They play.
They play hard.
intense.
And
They
look,
play
I'm not a
hard.
Florida State
We're
fan,
your
but they play hard.
co-champions of the Big Ten. One of them had 9 losses, the other one had 10.
God,
Yeah.
so they beat each other, Terry. It's a tough
They only
league.
played each other twice.
Get that through your head. It's
Tom,
a
they
tough
only
league.
played each other twice.
Get that through your head. We're not playing no cupcakes.
I mean, my goodness. It's
All
9
district.
and 10.
Go on the road in the Big Ten. Go play somebody on the road in the Big Ten, then come talk to me, Terry.
All
Tell me what
district.
that's like.
All District 10 high school basketball rosters. I wanted to mention this. This is the folks from our area. This is all our area. So this is our listeners. We're going to start. We got first, second, and third teams. Third teams. You want to try to guess any of the first teams or anything?
No, you go
No,
ahead.
you just want to go? All right. Third team, Stuart Kramer, Will Kelly. Kings Mountain's Isaiah Tate. Highland Tech, Kobe Christian. Shelby's Deshaun Christopher. We talked about him earlier, leading Shelby to a state championship game. And Terry, there used to be a Western and Eastern champion, so Shelby can just claim this as a state championship, technically, really, like they used to, if they really
Used
want to.
Well, they went back and they claimed all them now.
Right. So might as
So-
well claim this one too as well. I would vote for that. Jackson Vance of Patton, and they had a 6 because they had a tie with Vance and Ty Watkins of RS Central. The second team, and I don't know who did the math on this. So here we go. So the third team has 6 players, right? Second team has 4, and the first team has 6 as well. So these are the teams. We had ties.
Just to drive Kevin insane, they did a team with only
Yeah.
4 players on it.
They
One
did
fouled
two-
out, Kevin.
They did
One
two
fouled
of
out.
the 6.
They
and one-
probably don't know their
It was
1,
Jack,
2, 3, 4,
two was
Jack
5
Hollifield
neither.
was going to be on it. when he
Oliver was
fouled
on
out.
this team, but he found out before the vote. someone was talking about Jack. They said, well, he's going to make an appearance for a couple of minutes here in the first half, and then we'll see him.
Bless his
see
heart.
him left. He's so big, plays hard. Let's see. Trent. Well, I'm going to say his last name in a second. Tyrese McNeil of Hunter Huss. Davis Amos of Almost Famous Amos. Davis Amos of Hickory. Bradley Davis of Freedom, and Trent Ostrander from Hunter Huss. Is that the same name from American Pie? Was it Ostrander? Oslander? I can't
I
no, I
can't
could never remember the
remember.
exact word name
I
of that.
can't remember.
But that's what
Why'd
I
you
think when I
say
saw
that?
that.
Now I have to sit and
Oslander.
think about
They
it.
called him Oz. Look it up. Google. Use your phone. You got a phone and a Google machine in front of you. Find out his last name.
Yeah,
See
what
if
happened to
it's-
mine, Kevin? What happened?
Where is it? Oh, it's down the hall right now.
Yeah.
We had a hard
Tom, you
drive
didn't
crash.
need it today.
We had a hard drive crash.
There's no
Tom.
sports.
No.
The
no.
coronavirus
No.
got our hard drive.
It did.
Well, there you go.
So
Wow.
I have
you
to
lost out.
I have to copy one file at a time, and I've got about 40,000 files back there, maybe. So
Well, I had some things to say about your Mount Rushmore of UNC point guards.
we'll get to that in a minute. Let me finish this. I will do that after the break. How about that? Daniil Matkins of Hunter Huss. So Huss had 3 all-district players. Logan Botts of Forest View. Logan Threet of South Point are all on first teams. James Freeman of Freedom. Lane Harrell of Cherryville is first team. And the District 10 Player of the Year from East Lincoln. Congratulations to Justin Kuthan from the East Lincoln Mustangs. Of course, Kuthan's father is their McDonald's Scholarship sponsor award, so they help out. And we didn't name him or name him for any of that. I just did want to mention that he does our scholarship award to all the schools in in our counties, in our listener area, Terry.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, you talk about him being player of the year. I know Lane Harrell, he got player of the year in Southern Piedmont
Right.
1A conference.
All right, folks. We're going to be back.
Oh.
JP, we need a break. Go ahead, Terry.
I want to say one more thing, guys. We've seen something, and I don't remember what I mentioned a while ago. Last time we ever had a stoppage
I
of
did.
state champions was way back in 1918
All right.
when they had a flu epidemic.
We actually do, Tom. I do want to stay. JP, give me 2 more minutes, Tom. The NCAA, Terry and everybody as well, Hunter. Me and Hunter talked about this yesterday. NCAA eligibility, they're having a discussion
Mm-hmm.
on giving seniors another year. I personally thought it wasn't fair to anyone as far as juniors, freshmen. Why would they get it next year and no one else does if you're a freshman, junior, or whatever, sophomore, junior? Also, my solution was, and I don't know the feasibility of it, why couldn't they give all the spring sports, all the athletes, a medical red shirt year? Because that's really what it is. And then you wouldn't have to worry about the extra scholarships. I guess you need to allow a team to have more scholarships than what's currently on it. But is that big of a deal? 5, 10, 18, 20 people? How many people on a football team? That's what's going to affect the most, as opposed to volleyball, basketball, all that. There's not that as many seniors. So and of course, always, Tom, scholarship money is handing one department to the other. So you can these schools have endowments as well. A bunch of different ways to do that. Your thoughts on giving the college athletes another year in some form of fashion?
Well,
They're talking seniors only now. I
No.
don't think that's fair to the other.
And I was talking to my my umpire buddy Mark Fitzgerald, who
I know Mark.
they basically canceled the baseball season, and they talked about, okay, we're going to give the seniors another year of eligibility. But these guys, not all of them are on full scholarships. These guys have graduated. They need jobs. You can't stay in college forever. Well, I'm going to hang around college for another year because I lost my senior year. I mean, I guess it's one way to say, well, we're going to offer that to you if you want it. But
And sometimes the guys are ready to graduate, so it doesn't really make up for it. That's why I would like to see like something modified after this passes. Let's see where we are in a month. They just went ahead and canceled. Mark told me they
Yeah.
had just canceled
Yeah,
the
man.
college
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 series,
baseball,
everything.
season.
college baseball and college softball.
Without
and
just
the,
waiting.
And the
See,
World
but
Series.
why,
crazy. Why?
why wouldn't you say this has been temporarily postponed?
30 days.
30
like they're doing.
days, and we will reevaluate in 30 days.
A lot of the professional leagues are going 30 days.
And pick
Yes.
it up at that time.
Right. And then say, just like high school, the high school has suspended for 3 weeks. And what I was saying is, okay, let's shorten the games to 5 innings and double up on Tuesdays and Fridays. Okay, we're gonna do 5 inning games twice a week, or as much as well as they could. And then you'd have because all the teams play each other twice. So in other words, we're gonna have Burns and Chase. They're gonna play each other. All right, y'all are gonna play each other Tuesday, 2 5-inning games, and then you're all gonna play Shelby on Friday. Okay, 2 5-inning games, and do the best you can. Scrap all the non-conference games. Scrap the tournaments because you don't need
Yeah.
the daggum tournament
don't
at the
need
end of the year anyway. And maybe the season goes into June a little bit, and maybe the kids, you might go past graduation a little bit. I know that interferes with weekend plans or something. What I'm saying, I'd rather see an adjustment that's possible instead of just how are you going to cancel the season without reevaluating when the weather warms up. And like I said, we've made there's conflicting reports out there. I said that warm weather doesn't do as well. I've read now. Well, we don't know. We don't know if the warm weather is going to do anything about
Basically,
it.
your
But let's see.
your body fights infection better in warm weather.
Right,
That's what it is. It's not
Right.
what the virus will do. It's what your
But that-
bodies do better.
Yeah,
in warm.
but what I was seeing earlier, somebody told me, well, there's been no cases in around the equator. I just read on there. Brazil has reported dozens of cases. So I mean, there's so much.
Yeah, because
conflicting-
they're still doing
All right.
Yeah.
UFC
JP.
Brasilia just without fans.
JP, sit up. We got another break. All right, we come back. We got to do a NASCAR wrap. We got to do a NASCAR wrap up of the standings. We're going to talk about that. We're going to then talk about Hunter's going to wrap up the XFL.
Great first season.
And then also we got a couple more fun things. Terry, my stay off the lawn tweet of the day. You ready for this?
I'm listening.
All right, Tom, you ready? Back in my day, there was so much toilet paper that people used to literally string that stuff up in the trees of their enemies. And
Yeah.
and now we're hoarding it.
Right.
We'll be back in a minute. KDCBroadcasting.com. Hey, JP. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Welcome. I got all kinds of fun things
Hey.
to talk about. Terry,
Hey, Terry, don't
about-
forget to like and share.
like and share, too.
Yeah, like and share. Go
Like
ahead.
and share.
All right,
Go ahead.
Like
so,
and share.
we've had a lot of cancellations and all kinds of things, even local, the kids leagues. That's what's really bad about it is, Optimus and Dixie Youth and Little League
Really, they
canceling
disaffected
games.
Optimus?
Yeah.
I just knew of the high school and but probably middle school.
My
level.
son's league, it can't play their games. So another announcement tonight: the Bessemer City Hall of Fame.
Yes,
the first. They're supposed to have first ceremonies tonight. It was canceled.
Well, I think I can kind of understand the Optimists because they say the ones really susceptible to risk is not just the elderly, but the young kids as
Mhm.
well. So you obviously protect the children at the most.
So that was supposed to honor the state championship team. I think 59. Coach Mike Mahaffey, Kevin Millwood, and Shamika Smith were supposed to be the honorees for that. I'm guessing we'll be pushing it back to a later date and have that. I got me a new Kevin Millwood starting lineup, Terry, that I'm going to have to. I'm trying to get signed by Kevin. What's up?
I got his starting lineup. He's already signed it.
Who? Millwood?
Mhm.
You got a
I
Millwood?
I got his
There was the
Atlanta
one.
Braves
That's the
baseball.
one I got.
I also got
Yeah.
his hall when he was into the All-Star game.
Right.
Baseball signed by
There
him.
you go. Nice.
Well, cool.
Heck
Sure
yeah.
do.
Let's see. Tom, Ohio State, 4 assistant coaches this year were paid $1 million up there for their help,
Contributions.
for their contributions to the program.
I've really. It's
Y'all
about.
pay everybody.
It's
Tom.
about. But I'm serious. This is about. I guess what's changed my perspective on it is having a daughter that's going to college, and the amount of debt these kids have to take on while you're paying exorbitant salaries.
An assistant coach, $1 million.
I'm just not so sure we have our priorities where they need to be. And I'm a very much like I listen to all the talking heads.
What's tuition at NC State? In
27,000
in state,
Yeah.
it's 27.
No, I mean not tuition. The whole nine is
Mhm.
20 like between 25 and 27. They just congratulations to my daughter. They did give her a partial scholarship, so she's going to get a little bit.
if you fired
but-
one assistant coach at Ohio State, you could pay for 37 kids to go for
That's what
NC
I'm
State
saying.
for free.
That's what I'm saying. That's where your doctors, lawyers, and the people that you need. But I do not want to. We're talking about 4-year college, plus the money that needs to be invested into kids going to trade schools, going to our community college, who are going to be our welders, who are going to be our carpenters, who are going to be our electricians, who are going to be our electrical line workers, who are going to be our radiologists, and I just don't think that this country puts money where it needs to be. And I'm very much, and I know people are going to disagree because I am a capitalist. How much money do you need? That's all I'm going to say. Like these guys arguing over, when am I going to get $35 million or $40 million a year to play football? How much money do you need? It's just an ego thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You don't. I mean, this greed has just gotten out of control. But like I said, I'm a capitalist and I like money, and I'll do things for extra money. That's fine. But
It's my
when-
money, and I
yeah.
need it now.
All right, Hunt.
but when you're sacrificing the education of kids for, go ahead.
We'll get to that in a
Yeah.
minute. We're going to finish with that. Let's see. Let's go to make sure I get I got 2 more tweets to get into. Finish the show with that one. All right, let's start in NASCAR real quick. Talk ratings. They earned a 2.7 rating and 4.6 million viewers for last Sunday's NASCAR Cup Series racing in Phoenix. And if you want to compare that, the Lakers-Clippers game only had about 2 million viewers, and NASCAR had 4.8 on that one. So when people say
Very good weekend.
NASCAR's dead, NASCAR's dying, blah, 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 nobody watches that, well, they got more than the
They
marquee.
should have left it a southern
game.
thing, and it would be awesome.
I agree.
So with TV, they could definitely look into more of that, of getting back into some of that, and I think they are. Here's the standings. This is what I want to talk. I want to bring these up for my my viewers at home.
Bring it back to North Wilkesboro and Rockingham, where racing belongs. Go ahead.
Terry, I'm looking at them
I
top
think
10
they're working on that, aren't they? Though for North Wilkesboro, they're
They
working on
definitely
trying to
need
get
to
North
do-
Wilkesboro back.
That was-
juniors involved in a project.
Let's go
in
to
North Wilkesboro.
Michigan. Let's go to New
Hey,
Hampshire.
Michigan is good. I like Michigan. It's wide open there.
It's a southern.
Hunter.
Is Michigan in the south?
No, it's not. I
Hunter
mean, don't get me
doesn't
wrong,
exist.
but I like Michigan racetrack.
Yeah.
Hunter, there's not a single
Toyota in sight.
Terry, I thought Kyle Busch was just so awesome. He could
Kyle
drive
Busch
anything.
had 2 bad races to start the year,
Yeah, it means he's
but
a bad
his
driver,
last
right?
2 going
As-
down.
But as,
There he is.
Yep, he's in there.
12.
That's what
He's
I
in
thought.
12.
but no.
Yeah,
as,
he's still in.
Yeah.
as little as I watch NASCAR anymore, and I usually am silent in this part of the show. But one thing I do see is like one year, like Toyota's a dominate. Next year, Ford's a dominate. Like somebody figures it out one year.
Well, let me tell you something.
And then
Ford's
the next
been
year somebody else
consistent.
figures it out.
Well,
Ford
it's
has
the,
been
it's
the
the
most
aero
consistent.
packages a
Well,
lot of the
right,
time on how
right.
the bumpers
Until
and
we
everything
got
line
to
up.
last race, Ford had won one, Toyota had won one, and Chevy had won
Chevrolet.
one.
But it just seems like there's one make that figures it out for a year, and then the next year it's somebody else. But it's just kinda
Also,
way it goes.
also the winners, Terry, all had double digit numbers.
Yeah, they did.
And what was it? 22 with Logano, 88 Bowman, and who was the other one? Scroll down. Who got my
11.
11 got the
Denny
win. Denny
Hamlin.
Hamlin. So
Yeah.
yeah, we had 3
Denny.
double digit numbers with the first 3 winners.
I can't
3
stand
different
Denny.
Well,
manufacturers.
all four races.
Harvick's in first, Logano second, Chase Elliott third, Bowman fourth, Jimmy
Isn't that-
Johnson in fifth.
I'm trying to
So
think.
Hendrick's 3 of the top 5 now.
I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure I said Harvick would be the one that would be leading the pack for this year, just because. Yeah, you
I'll
saw
give
the
you that. I
you
don't
saw
remember
the
Harvick,
show.
but
You
I'll
saw
give
the
you that.
you saw the show he put on last year, even though he got caught cheating so many times. I mean,
Well,
he-
Harvick-
yeah, they're just fast. That
Well,
Ford
Harvick
is
has
just
the
fast.
is a good. He does have a very good crew chief, Rodney Childers. Blaney 6th, 7th, 8th. A couple of things I want to mention about this. What they're doing, Tom, in their time, in their spare time. If you want to ever race against a NASCAR driver hunter, hit up the GoPro Motor Complex up in Mooresville. Those guys are there all the time in their spare time, and I'm gonna try to get up there one day and check it out with Dustin and our sons, and maybe get a ride along with someone. Jimmy Johnson was out there yesterday with a couple of other NASCAR drivers. Another thing they're doing, they're trying to organize. Either one of y'all or any of y'all seen the iRacing?
Yes.
The internet racing.
Yes.
They actually have the car seats and
Mhm.
everything to them. Dale Jr. did a race last year on the big screen out in Charlotte. And so they're talking about organizing some iRacing for the fans to watch the drivers.
They
race-
use that
race
as a
online.
practice,
Right.
to practice as
Simulators.
well. Because when this is full, I'm pretty sure I told you at one time I was interviewing at Joe Gibbs Racing,
Mhm.
and while I was there, they took me into their media department, and they have an iRacing setup in there,
Right.
and they do just in case one of the racers wanted to go in there and just race a little bit. And that was something that's been really pushed, and I'm interested to see on what platform they use to let the
Right.
fans see that, because I mean I know what Twitch is. It's a streaming platform, or if they would put it on maybe the racing network or how accessible will it be for fans, or if they just YouTube live it. I think it would be interesting. I know.
People will watch, people, especially with nothing else on. NASCAR fans, they'll watch that.
And
anyway.
this is a good chance to see really how these simulators, how realistic they really are with the professional driver in the
the ones
seat.
that they have are supposed to be entertaining. One of the suggestions was, Terry, instead of the drivers doing it, the spotters drive, and the drivers get to yell at the spotters the whole time during the race, and the fans get to tune in and listen to that.
Well, you're talking about a bunch of wrecks.
Would that be fun? How about also including maybe some legends in some of this? Some Carl Edwards, some Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s. He's talked about getting involved in some of it. How about get Richard Petty on one of these jokers and get it out there?
Well, we mentioned of Carl Edwards. What is he doing?
I don't know what
Sit
Carl
ups?
Edwards is doing. Yeah,
Crunches?
he was crazy fit, man. When he was there.
Planks?
I mean, my whole dealing behind that, I've never heard of him again.
About Rusty Wallace, get out there. Mark Martin. You not think Mark would get back into it? You know, he would do it.
Oh,
Yo,
heck yeah,
you
I
think
know he
Rainbow
would.
Warrior would get in the seat? Old Jeff Gordon.
Dale Jr. would if he got to run in the back.
And now here's a question, and what I thought we may see at some point, and this could be. I always thought it could be like a side entertainment type thing for on a different day or something, and at a smaller scale cars, obviously. But now you could even do it full size cars. We've got drones, right? We know what a drone is, military drone. We know what a remote control car is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we not hook the iRacing setups to actual race cars
I said, what now? Wait a minute.
and use them as remote control cars?
No.
We will
that's-
someday. At some point in the future, we will have that.
Maybe
Hunter.
someday, if so that like maybe to be heightened safety for.
I'm just saying
Maybe
they
for
would
the
have that.
drivers,
They're
but
gonna.
I'm-
It'll start
there's
for
not-
fun. It'll start for fun. But
I
like
know.
like right now we could have like put real cars on the track and the remote control and Junior sitting there and
I'm telling you that. I just think that car would be just too big, really,
you could-
for you to handle like
you
that.
can scale them down. I'm saying you'd have
Scale
to
them down.
Yeah,
you
scale
want to
down
have
a little
crowd
bit.
watching at
Make
two
sure they're 3,
scale
4
model
wide.
cars running around.
Not like this little bitty ones. I'm talking, like about half the size of a regular car.
so
or,
what
or
a
a
go
little bit
kart,
smaller.
like a go kart running around.
Maybe the size of my Volt out there. That's smaller than the race cars, but something you could.
Would
that,
you like
that the
to
race
see
car that
something
the
like
guys
that?
online would have a chance to
Right.
to have a little space. So
I
they
would
didn't
not
wreck
know
every lap.
This is seriousness. I would like to see them bring back the name stock car, and for them to genuinely all drive a stock car, like a mid-sized sedan.
I just gave it to you. I just
I
gave you
know.
the blueprint.
You just gave the just let
remote
the drivers,
control minivans,
Not,
Terry.
no, not remote controlled. I'm just saying, let the drivers get in like a Chevy
remote
Impala
control
and just take the
minivans.
Impala around
Well,
at
the
that
problem
speed.
with that, Ford doesn't even make sedans anymore.
Yeah,
Only
they
makes the
don't.
Mustang.
It just have to be the
Where
Mustang.
are you going to get a rear wheel drive 8-cylinder Toyota Camry at?
You got hey, listen, they've got
They
more
don't make
they've
them,
got
do they?
more engineers in that building than half of the
All right,
half
Hunter.
of Duke does.
All
They
right,
can
Hunter,
do what
let's
they
do
want.
let's do XFL wrap up real quick before
Yeah.
the Battle Hawks before this week was announced that they now have over 100,000 followers just on their Twitter page.
Yeah.
alone.
Yep.
So
Is the XFL over and Houston's declared the champion?
well, I don't know if they've done it, but I'm glad you brought that up, Terry. Tom Luganbill was on the original 2001 XFL LA Extreme Champions. He just tweeted his championship ring, and he says, "I guess until further notice, we're still the champs, boys." 2001
Yeah,
LA
I-
Extreme.
It's
I
like
can
Steve.
say-
It's like Steve Spurrier claiming the AAF
Yeah.
when they
Hey,
suspended
dude, you
the
got to
league.
do what you played.
The
If-
AAF people are now saying we lasted longer than the XFL.
There you go.
That's what they're saying.
yeah, but here's the thing: was the AAF renewed for 2021 season? No, the XFL is renewed for 2021 season. Hopefully, when this is all
It's
passed over.
It's not bad. I mean,
It's
what
not
I've
bad.
seen, it's
it's
not
not
bad.
what you
It's
probably
not
thought
bad.
it was going to be.
No,
you
it's
thought
not.
you thought it was probably going to be joke football.
As soon as they kick
and
off,
then-
I turn it off.
well, at least
Well,
you
it's
at
not
least you
surprising.
watched the
It's not
best part,
surprising,
the
Terry,
kickoff.
because you resist anything.
Terry-
You're very
Terry
suited to
hates
the
the
West
world.
Lincoln community because you want nothing
Look,
new.
Terry hates
all
the
right.
world.
So
XFL
if the XFL had it, of course, ended, which it did, and they were to claim a champion, the Roughnecks by default with an undefeated record, they would have been the champions. I agree. PJ Walker, their quarterback, probably would have been the MVP. That or Cam Phillips, his wide receiver, who had 14 receiving touchdowns on the season so far.
Yeah.
So it was going to go to them, and
He
that
had
to
more
me.
receiving touchdowns than some of the teams
Teams-
had touchdowns.
You're exact. Yeah, he did. He did. And what's crazy is think
I
about
did
it.
see that.
And think about it. I know it's at this level, but who passed up on him in the NFL? Why didn't he get a shot? I mean, wide receivers, they like to say, are a dime a dozen in the NFL. You know,
He'll
you can
get his
just pick him
chance,
up
though.
off. He will get
Yeah,
his chance.
He'll get his chance.
And absolutely. And one of the kid that we like to talk about, the safety that's with St. Louis Battlehawks that
Oh, yeah.
lost eligibility in college and decided to play there.
Is it Henderson?
He had an interception on the season.
He'll get his chance.
He'll get his chance in the NFL as well. There will be multiple people from this league that were able to show their stuff, and they'll get NFL
It's a
tryouts.
second chance league.
I agree with that 100%. It doesn't have to be big time like the NFL, but it can be a second chance league 100%.
With this college
I'm all with it.
with this college stuff this year, I thought events might try to hang on and make a government declaration end of season. But I think what they did, and they've had I think they've made enough money to say, if we cut it short here, we don't take any risks, we're not in lawsuits, things going forward. I was kind of in the thought that what this would do, if you're going to cancel, spring football and these other things, what about graduate transfers and third year or juniors or fourth year, whatever seniors that they get to a certain point, and like you said, do I want to go to a school for another year, or do I want to call the XFL today and go try to get that job and another type of job? So I thought there was an
XFL
opening there, but
Yeah.
they of course they went with
XFL
safety as
did,
well.
in fact, say that all players will be paid full
Right.
contracts and
Yeah.
bonuses guaranteed.
That says that they made enough money to
they
do
made
all
they
that.
made their money. They made their money, and then also saw that the NBA sent out letters to NFL Players Association sent out letters to players saying that it's a doomsday crisis thing that the owners do not have to pay the rest of their salaries. Because, I mean, and personally to me, a lot of people would be like, that's awful. I'm like, well, I'm okay with that. I know that the owners have too much money to begin with, but it's like, to make your money, you got to work. So if you're not out there working, I
think Cuban
understand.
mentioned something about the insurance policies that the NBA currently have do not cover this situation, and that's where they're at on part of that. XFL, give you some quick numbers, Hunter. Your 1, 2, and 3-point conversions.
Yeah.
The 3-point conversions had the highest rate, y'all. 40% of 3-point conversions scored. 2-point conversions were 36%, and the 1 points were 33%. So it's worth it going for the more points.
That's one of the rules I did not like, and I also did not like the catch-up clock. I didn't like that either.
Oh, where the clock stops.
Yeah, I don't like those two rules. Those things. The kickoff rule I did, but those two I
Don't
didn't.
like to kick
The
off.
double forward pass I did. There's a couple things I
Look,
did.
they're in the first season. They tried some things, and a lot of it worked really well. And I really liked the transparency of the replay with them talking, with you actively hearing the conversation between the officials and the guy in the booth when they had to go back for replay and
I like
discussing
that part.
flags.
I like that part.
Yeah, I think that's really well. And if I'm not mistaken, the Citadel during their spring games this year are implementing the kickoff rule as well. They're taking some of the rules from the XFL for their spring games.
And the reason I like that part is on account of you were hearing what they were saying
Yeah.
back and forth, and that instead of sitting there going, "What is taking so long?"
what's taking so long? What are they
You know,
doing?
but
Why can't we figure this?
I don't like the live mics. I don't like that at all. I think that just totally takes away from the game. I don't need to know what you're doing.
It's
you
just but it's the entertainment. That's Vince's part right there.
It is.
He's an entertainment man, so that he had to be different. He had to be different.
Terry, I see what you mean. Some folks won't like it, some will. I think I've vouched for, like I said, the HBO thing. I think there should be a channel where you can switch over and hear the guys on the field, because hearing Jordan or Kobe or someone cussing one of the other players would be like, ha! It'd be just so fun. Think about Rasheed Wallace smack talk on the court, being able to hear that, just how much entertaining that would be.
But how
Listen to
much
some
do
of
we
it.
need to? I mean, sometimes
the
communications between players
But
or between
Tom, the
players.
Yeah,
people,
I agree.
the people on the court though, the courtside seats folks hear that.
Yeah, but
the common man
that's
wants
a
to hear it.
small. That's a small
I know the
percentage.
common man wants to hear it. You fight for
small
the elites.
percentage.
I'll fight for the
I'm
common man.
fighting for
Tom.
the- I'm just thinking. there's some things
You
that
and
need to be
Bezos are best
said.
buddies, and
There's
we'll
some
fight for the
things
common
that
man.
need to be said in private.
I agree.
Well,
And
you can click on. I'm not saying wired up, but if your microphone can hear you, I'm not putting. I don't want to
Oh,
put
you're
wires
talking about
on
those
you, bro.
dish
I'm
mics
talking-
that if the
yeah, if
dish
that
mic
picks
can
you
pick
up-
it up, yeah, whatever.
I
like
want to hear
what
all
they-
that. I want to hear all that. I'm not
Last-
talking about wiring up the wiring the coaches and
What-
stuff is weird.
Every once in a
Terry.
while, a player needs to get in another player's face and say, "What the f are you doing?"
Yeah.
And that needs to stay
I
between,
wanna watch
between
that.
them.
Uh-uh.
Well, last night
I want to watch it.
Last night I was watching the 7-on-7 Boston and L.A. And it was way back when Ilmo Carr and Cedric Maxwell, and they said those were the two worst Boston players ever because they was always talking to you, always talking crap to you the whole game. And they had Bird, they had McHale, they had Ever Paris, but those two were the two guys that the L.A. never liked.
Yeah.
All right, so couple of things in the show, a little fun, and then go over some details on what we're going to be doing here. Tom loves my conspiracies. All right, so Tom, way back when, Space Jam. Terry, you've seen this, haven't you? You seen the movie?
No, I have not seen the movie,
Terry has
but
not seen the movie.
I saw you send that out, though.
So Space Jam, in the movie, aliens take over the bodies of NBA players. And the NBA, because they don't know what it is, calls it an unknown virus, and they shut down the league. They fumigate the stands, the stadiums. They cover the gyms and in the drapery, or I don't know, whatever you call it, and fumigate them. And they shut down the league, folks.
Thank goodness for Space Jam.
And everything leads back to Space Jam, Terry. It really does.
or the Simpsons.
Yeah, or The Simpsons.
The Simpsons predict everything.
they
It
could-
is insane how crazy the Simpsons are. I mean, the one that gets me as far as that rule goes, the Simpsons, is the Homer Simpson writing the formula for you science people know what I mean, the Higgs boson. You know what the Higgs boson is, anyone? It's the quote unquote God particle that they found when they slammed two atoms together and it came out. Well, they didn't know the actual formula for it. And Homer Simpson had the formula written on a board during one of the shows a few years before the scientists actually found it and published the exact same formula. Where did Homer Simpson get the formula for that? I mean, this is something science that Einstein didn't have it, nobody else had it, but Homer Simpson had it, Tom. So just
You need to watch more Homer Simpson.
I know
The kid.
he
that's
predicted Donald Trump.
I shut a kid down. The kid started talking about Homer Simpson, the corona, and I shut him down. Like, no, I had to get enough of this at my other job.
Three-eyed.
you know?
They had the three-eyed fish in the water. And
Yeah,
they had the three-eyed fish. There's all kinds of Simpsons ones. Trump coming down the tower announcing his presidency. Lisa pretended to be Hillary Clinton. Tom, they're on top of it. The Simpsons. Matt Groening is a time traveler. So Space Jam, when it came out, Terry, the VHS release was March 11th, the day the NBA shut down again in 2020. Just dun dun dun.
Dun dun.
You know with that one, Tom? Are you sure this isn't a space alien invasion that shut down?
If it is, we're all gonna die.
that
so
shut-
why
No,
no,
even
but I
worry
saw
about
this
it?
That shut down.
dude.
No.
Now look, I saw
He's
this
right.
fun-
Go ahead.
I
got
saw
one
this
for you.
funny tweet. Now, this funny tweet said the coronavirus. They were like, look at all the hysteria caused by the coronavirus. No wonder the government would never tell us if aliens were real. Could you
Right,
imagine?
that's true. Tom, Terry, I mean, this is a serious situation, Terry.
It is.
Because listen, in Space Jam, we had to play the aliens. Do what? Yeah.
Yes, it's sports.
In space, what other sports are on right now? In Space Jam, Terry, the aliens, we had to play them. Okay, Jordan had to beat them to keep the human race from becoming slaves to the aliens. Are you following along?
I'm listening.
So they had to play a basketball game, right? So our race sent Michael Jordan. Pretty good representative of the human
He
race,
could
right?
play. Yeah,
He
he
could
could
play.
So
play.
here's the bad news. Here's the bad news. Yeah, the Toons kidnapped because they kidnapped the best. They didn't kidnap Kelly Tripucka or Rex Chapman. They kidnapped Michael Jordan.
the best.
All right. Well, then be quiet, man. We ain't got that much time for you to chime in. All right. So Terry, back to that. So if we got Jordan to win and he kept us from being slaves, the 6-0. Well, if the aliens are back and they've infected us again and shut down all sports this time, aren't we in trouble if we're sending 3-6 LeBron to play for us now? We only have a 30% chance of not becoming slaves based on LeBron James' winning ability. Should we send someone else like Steph Curry or Kevin Durant?
I would go with our best man, LeBron. I would take us on him.
So you're taking the 3-6 instead of
Just bring Jordan out of retirement.
or Zion. I take Zion and Jordan.
Well, Zion, we don't know what he can do. in a
Zion, dude.
championship.
Zion couldn't even win a national championship.
Yeah, he's never been there.
we don't got a
never
good
been
chance
there.
with LeBron. He's 3-6 though. You can't
He's
send
never
him.
been
At least
there.
he's
He is
won one.
averaging 1 point a minute.
Hey,
I know.
He
He's
is
good.
averaging 1 point a
LeBron-
minute.
And he's paying out of his rookie
Terry,
salary. people's
LeBron
money.
led
That's-
us. LeBron, I'll give you credit. He is the only NBA player in the last 30 years to lead the USA to a bronze medal. That's all I have to say about LeBron. Thank you for leading us to a bronze medal.
But you know,
and representing America. You embarrassed our country, Tom. I mean, LeBron. Total embarrassment. Total embarrassment. Him and Larry Brown. Does Jordan have a bronze medal? Is there anything bronze in his house?
No, there's
Okay.
nothing.
so Larry
like that.
Brown's Olympic was a bronze as well.
He was the coach of that garbage team.
But he played on the Olympic team back in the
I don't
60s.
know.
Yeah.
Was the 60s or 70s? I'm not sure.
It
what
was
Larry-
back in the 60s.
They've never
His
won
place-
anything other than gold.
You know why?
beside-
You know why I know this? Because Larry Brown was going to be on my Mount Rushmore of UNC point guards.
Come on now, Tom.
He's a national championship.
Don't be silly.
He's a national champion.
He said, "Don't be silly."
He's a national champion.
I can do it.
But I'm just saying.
I can do it.
Lordy.
I
Hunter.
can do it.
Did he win the national championship as a player
Yes,
at Carolina?
yes, yes.
Okay.
All right. So Derek
You're
Phelps
right.
is Derek. The all-time point guard.
Then Raymond Felton is an
the all-time-
all-time
And you
point
know
guard,
why I
too.
brought it up? Just to take y'all off. That's why I brought
The
it up.
all-time
Because I
point
knew you would
guards,
disagree
according
with
to
that.
Mr. Ohio State, is Larry Brown,
Larry Brown.
Jimmy Black.
Jeff Lebo.
No, Jeff Lebo didn't win a championship.
But Jeff-
Raymond-
but
Derek
Raymond
Phelps,
Felton.
But
Derek
what I'm
Phelps and
saying
Raymond
is
Felton.
Jeff Lebo would have been on there. Jeff Lebo was
a fan favorite.
He wasn't even a point guard, but I know he'd be on Terry's list. He'd put him
he
at
was
point guard.
he was a point guard.
Ah,
He was a point guard.
All right, folks, going forward, we don't know what we're going to be doing as far as this sports talk. We don't know if we have any sports to talk about. And
We
won't-
can talk about the lack thereof.
right.
But
It's like-
you still haven't gotten in. You haven't touched NFL free agency for like a
Yeah.
month.
it was
You
because
haven't even
technically
sniffed
it hasn't
That's
started
not when it
until
You
was.
haven't
Wednesday.
sniffed-
Yeah,
you
that
haven't
is not went away.
sniffed it.
It
It's
don't-
not.
sniffed it.
No,
don't
it's not
start,
one way yet.
It don't start till Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know, but
so-
all the hype. You know,
Next
where's Tom
Saturday,
Brady
we go
going? Well, you know, who's going where? You guys
I
haven't.
know,
sniffed
and then
it.
guess what? We can break that tension when it happens. Wednesday.
Okay, I'm done. But
Even
I'm
though-
just saying. I'm just.
But you're
saying.
right. You're
Dallas
right.
gonna give
That's
Dak
the
way
one.
too much money.
That's the one thing that really, you know, is still going to go on is off season. Well, even then,
Yeah.
most NFL teams aren't even taking meetings anymore with top 30 draft picks. They're not.
Yeah.
Washington sent even some of their staff.
Some of the
home.
coaching staff said they're not going to pro day or whatever.
And a lot of them said they're going. A lot Washington, I know because I read about it. They sent staff home. They said work from home for at least a week. So
But
a lot of stuff in sports.
that
is
will
a
be good.
standstill.
That will be good to delve into.
It'll
next
look
week.
if for people
Because you
that
haven't even touched
I
it.
know.
for people that love sports.
There's nothing going on.
yeah.
There
a lot
is
going
plenty
on.
going on. Everybody's talking.
All right, Tom, you got 3
where's-
minutes. Go.
Where's Prescott going to go? How much is he going to get paid? Is Tom Brady
That's
going to the
speculating.
49ers? I know,
That's
Kevin, but that's
speculation.
what these shows are about.
That's
Speculation, right?
golly.
Speculatively.
Nobody at this table has any inside
speculatively,
information on where
spe-
Tom Brady's going.
is Larry Brown the best point guard in UNC
I just-
history? That's
yeah.
No.
speculation, right? That's what we do, right? We're supposed to speculate on this or that. So I think
Oh,
there's
Lord.
Yeah,
plenty.
but-
There's plenty to talk
But Tom,
about.
what I have to just say back to that is, after a while, aren't you just tired of hearing the speculations?
Not really. Not when we're talking about it.
Well, not when we're talking about it.
Not
I'm
what
just
we're
saying.
talking about.
I'm
Not
just
what
saying.
we're talking about. Because then you get to hear Kevin rant on
Y'all
Dak
wa-
Prescott about how he's not worth that money.
He's
and
not.
that-
Y'all
which
wasted-
makes Terry mad.
He's not.
He's
He don't
gonna
think
get
so.
which makes
No,
the
no,
show.
said he's worth
Which
But
makes
look,
the show.
what he's saying is a good point.
No.
What I think what he's trying to say is a good point. You just listed all that stuff, and a minute didn't even pass.
Yeah, but we didn't get into. We didn't delve into.
I know,
we didn't
but at the same
dissect it.
time, look,
Kevin
okay,
didn't.
there are-
Kevin
there are-
didn't pull up
here-
on his
here,
trusty
all right.
monitor all the
I'll break it-
stats.
I'll break it
to
down
tell
for
you
you.
what
Nothing
Dak
to talk
Prescott's a
about,
backup
though.
I'll break it
quarterback.
down for you. Dallas probably going to overpay for Dak Prescott.
They
Are
are.
they in
If
the
I
running
spend
maybe
10
for
minutes
Tom
talking
Brady?
about Tom Brady to the Bucks and he signs with
No,
the
no, no, no.
Patriots,
Tom Brady to the 49ers.
either way, if we
Tom
spend
Brady
10
to the
minutes talking to
49ers.
any of that and he
But-
re-signs with the Patriots, we wasted 10 minutes. We could have talked about something else, like NASCAR
or the Simpsons.
or The Simpsons
Or Star Wars.
or Star Wars
Or something like that.
important. As opposed to Tom Brady might play,
Or you didn't even
Jordan
mention.
might come
You
out of
didn't even mention
retirement.
Kyle Allen has been signed for a 1-year contract with the Panthers, and how does that play into
We
Cam Newton's future?
We don't know.
But
We
speculation.
don't know.
What does that mean? What does that mean for Cam, Kevin? What's that mean for Cam? They signed Kyle.
Cam's
Kyle
not coming back. Y'all
Cam's
just get
not
out of
coming back. Okay, he's-
I told y'all that
Tom,
months ago.
Right now, the world is worried about more things than sports, obviously. So we have to think outside of the world of sports.
But y'all still talked about sports the entire time. What are you talking about? This
We have
is
talked,
you
Yeah.
we
still
have talked
talking
for
about
over
sports.
2 hours.
All right, JP,
Yeah.
we got to go. Guys, hopefully we'll be in next Saturday. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Depending on what's going on. And as far as future goes, we don't have high school sports till April 6th or anything else, any other sports for 2 or 3
April
weeks.
6th.
So that's the earliest date. You know how the lightning delays work every 30 minutes.
Every 30 minutes.
We're going to back it up another day or so. So I would expect something like that. All right, Terry and Tom, y'all want to say anything, anybody, before we get out of here? I know Hunter's going to be in next
I just
week.
want to say,
If you guys end up, we'll talk about it later, having to get cut school off, you guys can come in during the weeks and stuff.
I just expressed my regret. I'm sorry, every senior in North Carolina. I am sorry what happened to you. All you softball girls, you soccer girls, you baseball boys, track, golf, all you spring players, and it's your senior year. Just want to express my regrets to you and your mom and dad. And you know, some people, this is it for them. You know, their senior year. So I'm just really sorry for you, and just say a little prayer, and hopefully this gets lifted, and you guys are able to finish your senior year somehow.
Yeah, and I'm going to say the same thing Tom just said, especially for all the seniors, because you don't know what you've really taken away. I mean, it's not. I mean, they're doing the right thing. I agree with what they're doing, It's just that you cannot never bring that senior stuff back, especially in your winter and spring sports that you're trying to finish. That'll never come back to you. And I mean, and I think about West Lincoln, I think about their golf team. Their golf team this year had a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, Lake Norman Charter's good, but the other day we tied them in a match. I mean, we finished even with them. And that's what we're after. And they were the ones who won the state last year. So that's something that's been taken away, that you'll not have that opportunity to defeat them. But anyway, I mean, I'm like that with everybody. I mean, hey, me and Tom sees it every day now. We got seniors walking through that they just going to finish school and and hope they're
I kept that in mind
freshmen.
I kept that in mind
You're
last night
good.
because I was behind the plate last night, and I said I really try to do the best job I could because this might be the last game
Yes.
these guys ever play.
All right, guys.
That's all I wanted to say.
All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here real quick. Final thought, talking about online Zion Williamson comparisons. People are trying to figure one out. I've been saying this for a while. So Kendall Gill says everybody forgets about Larry Johnson. My buddy Grandmama, think about LeBron with Hakeem's footwork and Shaq's strength. He was beautiful to watch. He was a straight up animal. That was Kendall Gill. All right, we'll be back sometime Monday. Hey, Monday, how about Hunter? We spent all day Monday speculating NFL free agency.
Go ahead.
And then Wednesday, we'll break it down for everybody for Tom. All right, on KTC Broadcasting. We'll be back next week,
Hunter wants-
KTCBroadcasting.com.
I don't care. He's trying to act like he doesn't.